Greetings, fellow armchair Imagineers. Tiki here.
And BlueDragonFive.
And take a Wile, too.
And welcome to the Main Street Cinema, the show where we discuss the finer points in filmmaking. And man, oh man, folks, I'm really excited about this conversation because this was my number one most anticipated film of the year, and this is a very polarizing movie. And I made sure to intentionally, not know what these two gentlemen sitting in this hangout with me know about this film. So for all we know, we could have a very diverse, very, very competitive and combatant conversation here, depending on what everyone thinks of this movie. So we're just going to get it right out the gate. Ready Player One. I'll start. We're going to kind of go round table really quick before we get into the finer details. And basically, kind of go, as we always do with these spoiler casts, expectations going in, thoughts coming out. So I'll start. I was psyched for this movie. I read the book, and I don't love the book, but I love the first half of the book, and I love the first part of the book. I love the first act of the book and the third act of the book. The middle part of the book kind of drags for me, and honestly, with the movie, I feel like they cleared some stuff up with that. But the book was really interesting for me. I feel like it did... the world building in the book is a little more interesting than the actual characters in it, though they did have some good character reveals in it. My favorite character in the book being H, which we'll talk about in the movie. So building up to the movie, I've been looking forward to this one for years because of the Steven Spielberg attachment. That's actually the reason why I read the book to begin with. Basically, as soon as Spielberg hopped on board for this, I was like, okay, I need to read this book now. And of course, we have Olivia Cooke, we have Ty Sheridan, young Cyclops, kind of a big all-star cast. And of course, the Dunkirk man himself.
Dunkirk.
Dun, dun, dun.
Egg. All kinds of good casting options. TJ Miller. And so I was really stoked for this movie. I gotta say, like a lot of other people, the ad campaign didn't really do it for me. I wasn't really sold on this whole thing, like, oh, the movie's going to be nothing but Easter eggs. And thankfully, once I actually saw the movie, I do think this movie, for as much as it cuts out of the book, this is a very different movie from the book. A very, very radically different movie from the book. It is by no means a beat-by-beat adaptation by any stretch. And I think for as much as it changed from the book, I think this movie could have easily been like 10, 20 minutes shorter. That's kind of the main complaint I have with it, is that much like the book, the movie kind of drags in certain spots. And much like the book, I feel like the world building kind of eclipses the character development. Having said that, what the hell was I expecting with this being an adaptation of the book? These aren't the best, most well-rounded characters. But most importantly, my favorite character in the book, H, is... I was so happy with the way that H is represented in this movie. And, I just all the way around, I got to admit, the first time I saw it, I wasn't really stoked on it. I was kind of like, yeah, that was good. It wasn't really top shelf Spielberg by any stretch. Second time through seeing it, because I really wanted to give this a second viewing, especially with it being my most anticipated of the year and me hyping it up so much in my own head. Second time through, I'm really digging this movie. I think this movie definitely benefits from a rewatch because there's so much being thrown at you the first time you see it. So much technology, the way that Spielberg's building the world. The characters don't really improve. I mean, like I said, I think H is kind of like the one standout character in this whole cast, really. But this movie's a lot of fun. This movie's kind of in the same Spielberg vein as... I would put it kind of on level with something like The Adventures of Tintin, where it's not necessarily about a deep plot or anything like that, but it's a damn solid, really fun treasure hunt of a movie. And as an adaptation of the book, I gotta say I'm very satisfied with it because it basically maintains the spirit of the book while improving certain things on it. I think it definitely streamlines the plot a lot. what little character development it does have, I honestly think the movie does better than the book in most regards. And yeah, I was very happy with this movie overall. I think it's actually, you know, kind of stewing on it a few hours actually after coming out of it for the second time. I do think overall, this might be a controversial statement, but I do think overall this is probably a better overall product than the book is. Because I think the character development is a little more well-rounded. I think the plot's more streamlined. And I think the movie relies less on like the pop culture member berries than the book does, because the book kind of famously can get a little bit insufferable with that kind of stuff. And I feel like Spielberg is a master of using, you know, like we see the Iron Giant in the trailer. The Iron Giant, there's a reason why the Iron Giant's here. You know what I mean? And so yeah, overall, after having seen this film a second time and marinating on it, I'm very satisfied with it. I'm not going to say it like exceeded and went above and beyond my expectations or anything like that. But as a loose, excuse me, as a loose but you know, but serviceable adaptation of the book, I think it's quite good. Go H. All right.
All right.
Who wants to go next?
I
Jacob,
guess.
Why don't you go next, since you're also the other book person in the room?
Well, real quick, Tiki, you should probably address also the Easter of it all too, right before we get
yes, you're right, folks. I'm sorry, I'm kind of jumping the gun on this, but yeah, hey, it's Easter and it's also April Fool's Day, but it's mostly Easter, and this book is all about an Easter egg hunt. So yeah, yay, kind of loose tie-in there.
All right, fire away, Jacob.
Hooray! All right.
My connections with this movie actually kind of are similar to Tiki's. Like, I actually heard of the book quite a while ago. Like, I recently got Kindle on one of my phones, and it was actually one of the books that popped up on there. And I read the synopsis, and I thought it sounded interesting, but I kind of passed it over for the time being. And then a while ago, I actually looked it up. Then I saw a film adaptation, and then of course saw the guy who was directing it.
You know, a little indie director you may or may not have heard of.
Exactly.
Yeah, Spiel something bird. I don't know, some unknown of some sort.
Steven Soderbergh.
I think he did some movie about like a truck or something.
Yeah, Steven Soderbergh.
Yeah, something like that. Anyway.
Yeah, it's like I saw that Spielberg was directing it, and I was like, okay, that's actually okay. It's like this definitely got my interest peaked in it. And so I read the book on and off, because I was doing other things at the time, and I definitely got intrigued. But I mean, to save time, I definitely will agree with some of the grievances that Tiki had on the book. Like, to save it, to spare everybody my spiel on that, I pretty much agree with a lot of his points on that. And so I was like, so like everyone else, I was anxious. Like everyone else who was actually looking forward to this, I was, looking forward to this. And can I shout out hometown pride? This movie takes place in my hometown of Columbus, Ohio.
You know, Jacob, I was totally thinking of you, and they change it from the books too. I think the stacks are in like Green Bay or something like that.
It takes place in Oklahoma, then moved
Oklahoma. That's it. Yeah.
Then goes to Columbus, Ohio. It's like, yeah. I mean, technically, I live very close to Columbus, and it's like, yeah, Central Ohio, hell yeah.
I was kind of hoping to see like a post-apocalyptic Cedar Point at some point in this movie.
Like, Spielberg's actually technically from Ohio too, so that's actually pretty interesting tidbit as well.
Right.
Like, technically Cincinnati, but still. So that's a rather tidbit fact. But anyways, I obviously wasn't going to let the Ohio factor win any points for me, even though it is a pretty cool. I was pretty interested because, the whole Spielberg thing, and I'll admit the whole the marketing campaign really didn't do much as people admit, but I didn't let that get in the way. I was like, I will definitely see this movie regardless of what's going on. I was very impressed by it. I was like, It's like I was trying to follow. I was like, okay, how did this follow the book? How does that go in the book? Like, and then when I realized basically the entire first Easter egg chance, I was like, okay, I'm not even gonna try and compare this to the book anymore. I was like, I'm not gonna try and follow them. You know what I mean? So because basically the first was like a fight against some kind of skeleton king in the book.
Yeah, and not only that, but there's this whole elaborate like subplot of, the school and, the key being hidden in the school that Wade goes to and all that. And
It's definitely it's definitely something that would be that, though while interesting in book form, probably wouldn't translate well to a film form.
I agree.
So I was like, I can definitely agree with some of the changes made in the source material. Like,
I mean,
like
one of the keys in the book is literally getting the high score on Pac-Man.
Yeah, I can see why. I mean, obviously, that's like not very wouldn't be very exciting for a film adaptation. So
right. Anyways,
I mean, this movie made me. I like how this movie is like even kind of structured like a standard, like a big budgeted '80s movie. Even
it totally is.
it's like a ragtag group of teenagers, like a villain who, like a bad guy who's basically knows what he's doing is wrong.
It's kind of a 2018 Tron.
Yes. It's basically like, they're going to succeed, what's going to happen, and it's almost like Roger Rabbit in a way for like and feature the cameos and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Run easy! When I killed your aunt, I talk just like this.
Speaking of that, that you can even see Marvin the Martian in one scene.
Yeah,
that is true.
Yes, but funnily enough, wasn't actually in Roger Rabbit. I don't think.
I don't think he was. No,
they couldn't afford him.
All right, but okay, enough of that. But that was actually very like. I mean, like, it not only was it filled with 80s nostalgia, it was like an 80s movie brought to the modern day. And, I mean, I honestly didn't let obviously I don't have nostalgia for that kind of time period, but I am well aware of the kind of films in that made. And, like, you can definitely tell that even though it's, like, at first you don't think it's a movie that Spielberg would do, but once you get into the heat of it, it's like, oh, this definitely works as a movie Spielberg would do, just, like, with more computer graphics and stuff like that. Like, you can definitely tell Spielberg definitely enjoyed himself working on this.
Oh yeah.
I mean, like, and technically, I think he directed this. I think he directed this before the post, technically, but you can definitely.
Well, it was kind of simultaneously, Jacob, because he had he was at one point he was kind of working on both at the same time, and that's why John Williams doesn't do the score for this movie, because it's very unusual for Spielberg not to work.
But we get Alan Silvestri, which is like just as good for the source material.
That is true, and I think historically, and I could be wrong on this, I want to say historically it's the first time on a movie he hasn't worked with John Williams.
I don't know. I'd have to go back and fact check that.
That's something to check. And I mean, it was an eventuality because I think Williams is starting to retire soon. Well, I know he's retiring from Star Wars.
Yeah. He's definitely retiring from Star Wars after Episode 9. That's a for sure thing.
I was saying you'd imagine he would start to retire from other things because he is getting up there. He's doing fantastic work. And as a composer, at a certain point, you're going to reach a certain point where how much more can I do? I've come up with so many iconic scores. What's next? I've done everything! Steven, I've done everything! I can't help you anymore!
Also, just on the comparison to the post, this is most definitely not a Jurassic Park Schindler's List situation, because I'm sorry, folks, the post is crap. Like,
what?
It's not good. It's not a good movie.
But you said such flattering things about it before.
Excuse me?
You did.
I wasn't over the moon about it. I said that Odenkirk did a good job.
You were complimentary towards that movie.
Nah, I mean, look, I'm saying compared to Ready Player One, this is the Post is like a nothing Spielberg movie. No one's going to remember Spielberg even directed The Post in 5 years.
That's like comparing Lincoln to E.T. It's not a fair comparison. Come on.
Okay, well, you don't like Lincoln at all. So who are you to talk?
That's what I'm saying. I'm saying it's an unfair comparison, like comparing something like Lincoln to something as popular and amazing as E.T.
All right. Anyways, so Dragon, give us your, as a non-book person, give us your expectations and thoughts coming out.
Yeah, so I went into this completely without reading the book, and I just, if I really tried, I probably could have found the book somewhere and read it. But with the whole Spielberg,
It's an easy read. I mean, it's like a candy bar for the brain. It's like 200 pages.
Yeah, well, I kind of wanted to go and seeing what was done with the film before the book, I guess. So, anyway, my expectations going to this, my history of this really starts with Atari Game Over. So there's a little documentary that was made about an hour long. And it's basically about the age old myth. Well, again, basically urban legend, the age old urban legend about the ET game, the Atari ET game being buried in Alamogordo, New Mexico, and the whole pursuit of like digging that up. And it's a really good. I recommend it to everybody, especially if you like this movie. I think you should really check it out. And in that movie, and the reason I really would definitely point people to that is kind of something that Tiki brought to my attention. I kind of noticed in the movie that, because I believe Tiki and I did a commentary on Atari Game Over.
Commentary, yeah.
Anyway. So what Tiki was telling me during that is like one of the various people who are like kind of video game aficionados and kind of big kind of pop culture fans in there is Ernie Klein, the guy who wrote Ready Player One, which basically I was like, oh yeah, this guy's Ernie Klein seems to be an interesting guy. Like he drove down Alamogordo, New Mexico in a road trip in a DeLorean that he got returned to him from George R.R. Martin with an ET and a red hoodie as riding shotgun. So this guy instantly has my attention. Man, this guy's interesting. And then, of course, Steve's like, oh, yeah, I wrote Ready Player One. I asked him, Dickie, what's Ready Player One? What's the big deal? So what is that book anyway? And he's telling me, essentially, he gave me the sell line, which really piqued my interest of it all, saying, it's simple. It's Willy Wonka with video games. It's like, okay, well, I'm already, which is that description, I was kind of sold on this when I heard it was being made into a movie. Like, okay, and then I heard how you make that even better. Spielberg's doing it. Okay, wow, this just keeps getting better.
Olivia Cook from Bates Motel is one of the main characters.
I know. Then basically we get like the cast and the pop culture that's in it. But honestly, for me, like I already been sold by all of those things already. But I mean, honestly, the visual thing that sold me was in that first teaser. Three very simple things. One, the fact that they use the pure imagination in the score for the teaser.
That was a really good choice.
It was the San Diego Comic-Con teaser, I believe, and when they had it debut there, and basically that kind of solidified what Tiki kind of sold me. I was like, okay, they are definitely playing into a Willy Wonka vibe for a movie. And the two visuals that sold me, like, okay, even if I didn't want to see this movie, I'd have to see this movie because of these two details.
I can guess one of them.
Yes, we have the Iron Giant and we have the DeLorean. Our main guy uses the DeLorean, and of course the Iron Giant does factor in a prominent way. So because of that, it's like, yeah, I gotta see. Even just for some reason, if I just was really against the movie, yeah, I got Iron Giant. I got it. Iron Giant. Our main guy drives the DeLorean.
By some weird reason, the guys behind Food Fight made this movie.
I think you mean
I mean Sausage Party. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, darn it, they got me over a barrel. Son of a... So, honestly, my expectations going into it is based on, again, that was just like the whole, like, okay, I'm definitely seeing this, and the thing that kind of I was thinking going into it was, with the Oasis and everything, which you kind of like, again, I didn't watch every trailer. I watched the teaser, and I watched the first trailer. So in terms of, like, what to see of the end footage, that's really all I saw. And I guess I was kind of thinking, hopefully it would be like a Spielbergian cross between Spy Kids 3 and Willy Wonka, with a lot of heart in it. That whole thing, like going into the video.
I hope you liked it better than Spy Kids 3.
Well, I'm just saying, like a combination, like a very unusual, but hopefully a very winning combination of, like kind of the concept of what Spy Kids 3.
I mean, to me, it's more The Matrix meets Willy Wonka.
I was saying, like, it's kids going into a video game and they're kind of, they're playing through the game and the levels only with like kind of a Willy Wonka, like giving that that's what they're in there for.
If you think about this, it's kind of like the reverse Matrix.
All right, if you really want to compare this to Spy Kids 3, Dragon.
Look, again, I will defend the heck out of Ricardo Montalban's end scene in Spy Kids 3. I will fight any man on a mountaintop to defend Ricardo Montalban's name. I will defend that scene on a mountaintop. Anyway,
this movie kind of is a reverse Matrix almost.
Oh yeah, in respect, yeah. You're right. I mean, it does kind of build to that point, yeah. Mm-hmm. Anyway, so those are my expectations. My thoughts were, coming out of it, I had a lot of fun. I had a lot of Spielbergian touches, and had some cool ideas. However, when I came out of it, here's the thing: I wasn't marveling at it like I thought I would. I was kind of hoping I was going to marvel at it a little bit more, and it's definitely it's warrants a rewatch. I definitely wanted to rewatch it again. I didn't get a chance to, but I would have liked to. And I think upon more of a rewatch, kind of like what Tiki was saying, I think upon a rewatch, I think you'd be more impressed by it and get this.
There's just so much shit being thrown at you on the screen the first time you're seeing it.
Exactly, and we'll get into like how that kind of helps and hinders the movie in places when we get down the lines. And that's kind of a double-edged sword, but of course it's a huge, impressive sword that's kind of doing the damage. So it's anyway. So
a lot of this movie is basically visual crack.
Yeah. And kind of honestly to me, and again, hearing that it's really different from the book, kind of shakes this for me. But I mean, it kind of when I was watching, kind of felt. I think in retrospect, it kind of feels like an adaptation, or at least something that's trying to be an adaptation before it's a Spielberg movie through and through. And what I think Spielberg did with this movie, though, and I guess if there's an analogy, it's that Spielberg's done movies that are like they're Spielberg movies or they're films directed by Steven Spielberg. This, I feel, is a film directed by Steven Spielberg. And again, that's not a bad thing. He's done movies that, again, I'm just saying, like, E.T.'s a Spielberg movie, Raiders of the Lost Ark, it's a Spielberg movie. Jurassic Park, those are like the huge iconic ones. Those are Spielberg movies.
What is the last Spielberg movie in your eyes?
Let me think. I'm just trying to, honestly, and it's hard to say. A part of me, because I really like this.
Say The Terminal.
No, I'm not saying that. Wasn't going to say. Why you got to take unnecessary shots of The Terminal? Why you got to do that, Tiki? That's not nice.
It sucks.
It does not suck. Catherine Zeta-Jones in that movie sucks. The movie does not suck. Anyway, honestly, I think I can make an argument for Bridge of Spies, because that one does feel like it's kind of Spielberg in his biopic.
Dragon, that's one I still need to see, actually.
And Tiki,
on that.
Honestly, that's my favorite of all the things he's done with Mark Rylance. I really love Mark Rylance. Mark Rylance and Tom Hanks are amazing in that movie, and it's they're really good together.
Mark Rylance has been on like a career renaissance recently.
So still, honestly, of all the things I've seen in Mark Rylance, as much as we love to make our Dunkirk references, I will say that's still my favorite thing I've seen Mark Rylance in.
He's not Dunkirk.
I know he's not Dunkirk. I'm saying he was in Dunkirk.
I know. I was just pulling that. I was just referencing.
No one knows that guy's name anyway. Come on.
Sure, he has a name if you look it up.
Oh, come on. No one has a name.
Kid's name isn't the kid who dies. His name is George, right?
It's like Georgie. It's like the one name in the movie. Come on, who cares? Let's be honest, all right? No one really has a name in Dunkirk. They're all Dunkirk. It's Dunkirk and Georgie. It's actually a secret buddy movie. Anyway.
Okay. So I guess it's time for me to lay out the plot then.
Well, one last thing, real quick. One last thing. What I was getting into is I make an argument for Bridge of Spies as like kind of the last Spielberg kind of through and through movie. Again, you can make an argument though for that one, but at the end, what I think Spielberg did that's similar to what he did with Tintin, but this is kind of on a grander scale. I think this is kind of, I guess my last kind of thesis statement is I think this is Spielberg kind of, it's like an Avatar critically done more successful.
This is definitely a better Avatar. I agree.
It's kind of it's Spielberg's attempt at an Avatar that, again, I won't speak financially because the movie just came out and I think it's doing good, but I can't speak to how it's going to. Again, I think it should do really well.
Amazing, I don't think
that's what I'm saying. I feel like this movie's going to have a box office was I think had before Black Panther. I think this movie would have done a lot better in the box office. I don't know.
Well, I mean, to be fair, it's coming at a time when like Black Panther's on its way out finally, so that might benefit it.
That's true. That's true. I'm just saying this year's going to be a killer in the box office for all sorts of movies coming out. Infinity War, I'm sure, is going to be the big heavy this year. But the point is, so again, I think this definitely critically, I think this is basically Spielberg's attempt at an Avatar that's far more successful. And again, Avatar, I don't just mean like the whole, hey, it's all digital and effects. I mean Avatar in the sense of that, but also the sense that we actually have avatars in this movie.
Yeah, I mean, I think this does the whole Avatar concept a lot better than the Avatar movie does.
So that's what I'm saying. This is kind of a more successful stab at what the whole Avatar concept is, and with the visual splendor to go along with it. And hey, Spielberg attached. You have like Spielberg versus Cameron. Okay, anyways, that's the thesis there. Okay, let's just plot.
Okay,
I'd actually like to see Spielberg and Cameron work together. Actually,
Well, yeah, I think they're going to have a conversation soon on that AMC show that James Cameron has, because he's interviewing sci-fi directors. By logically, you'd imagine Steven Spielberg would be on there.
That sounds interesting.
Anyway.
Okay, plot. Columbus, Ohio, night 2045. 18-year-old Wade Watts has been a lifelong fan of one James Halliday, inventor of the online interactive wonderland called the Oasis. 5 years ago, Halliday died, leaving behind with him an Easter egg hunt for nothing less than the control of the Oasis itself and his trillion-dollar fortune that goes along with it. With his help of fellow Gunter Pels like H and Artemis and Saito and Sho. Sorry, I got to catch my breath there. Wade, aka Parzival, must battle against a series of pop culture laden challenges and also against the devious Sixers led by the cunning Nolan Sorrento in a race to reclaim the Oasis and truly become Player One.
Bum, bum, bum.
What do you think, Dragon? I think I did okay with that.
I think there's a... Well, I don't want to tear you down. You did a good job.
All right. At least I didn't stumble over my words or anything.
Well, I think there was an accuracy in that, but we're fine. Let's go on.
Okay, folks, so we're going to kind of talk character by character, but I think each individual character should go by pretty quickly because these are pretty shallow damn characters for the most part.
It's not a bad thing, by the way. It's just, they're kind of not left to them.
So let's talk about Wade Watts, a.k.a. Parzival.
A.k.a. the Woody Allen character Z.
Yes.
No, we're kidding, but Z for short as well.
So I think this character is definitely a lot more toned down than he was in the book, because in the book there's a lot of uncomfortable like cyber stalking going on between him and Artemis that's just not in the movie at all. Having said that, I think the problem with Wade is that he's just kind of like a nothing character. He's kind of like a stock character. Like in the book, I feel like we get more of a sense of his struggle, because in the book we get a really good sense of that he's basically in the book they spend a lot more time emphasizing the financial situation going on with the Oasis and the fact that the more financially well off you are, the better the experience in the Oasis is going to be. And that's something they kind of more or less sort of cut out of the movie for the most part.
Yeah.
But Wade is just, he's just kind of the surrogate avatar for the everyman character. He's just kind of the hapless kid who comes from nothing, who wants to save the world. And he's definitely the Luke Skywalker of the story.
Well, what I really like what we do with him, particularly visually, is that he does, she does that bit. I'm pretty sure Artemis, actually does this in the game. I could have just kind of, maybe I inferred it too much, but I think she messes with his hair to make him look, basically gives him the Marty McFly haircut. So he is very much kind of the Marty McFly kind of archetype for the movie. He's kind of...
And doesn't at one point she actually refer to him as McFly?
That's the thing. She calls him McFly, and I think when she says that, I think she does a thing where she basically kind of restyles his hair using the game or something. And I think she gives the McFly kind of part.
One of the details that's straight out of the book that I absolutely loved was the Clark Kent glasses that turn you into it hides your identity in plain sight.
Yeah.
Technology wise, that was just a tiny little detail in the books where Parzival had to go around with the Clark Kent glasses that I really liked. I wish we would have seen him in the Clark Kent glasses a little more. They kind of abandoned that early.
What I really loved? It was in the marketing, this one little brief TV spot I did catch a glimpse of, and I fear it was a spoiler, but they kind of cut it out of the movie, and I was a little disappointed by it because I loved it in the trailer. In that whatever TV spot I saw. When they did that Superman gag, they had the Superman music playing behind them. And I'm not saying they should have used the same classic Superman theme, but I'm just saying, considering that John Williams was a part of this movie for a brief time, they could have used the little Clark Kent music instead of the Superman music. I thought that would have been perfect.
Yeah.
But so he's for me, he's kind of a combination of McFly and Charlie Bucket, and with the whole poor angle there. And again, I
doesn't nearly have the charisma of Marty McFly, though. That's the problem.
Well, that's what I'm saying. He's got kind of he's more Charlie Bucket than he is McFly, but he has kind of the appearance of a McFly. He's got kind of the appearance, and he's more cut from the cloth of McFly, but he's character-wise, he's the kid with the good intentions, like Charlie Bucket.
He definitely also looks different than the book describes him in.
Yeah, in the book, he's kind of an overweight slob for most of the story.
Wow. That's
Yeah.
different. It's kind of like a Psycho difference, between like Norman Bates from
Right, right. It's totally like that. Yeah.
And well, here's the thing. From what I understand, because I was rewatching Atari Game Over, and it gives you a little insight. It's a really brief insight. It gives you an insight to Ernest Cline. And the impression I got is that this character, the Wade Watts character, holds a lot of significance for him because he grew up kind of poor, and basically he was really lucky. He was really lucky and appreciative with the games that he did get, and that's why he kind of gravitated towards video games the way he did. So I would imagine kind of the strife that Wade Watts goes to is kind of an extrapolation of what Ernest Cline went through.
Yeah, and like I said, of course, with it being a book, the book just naturally hits on that stuff a lot better because it has more time to breathe. I feel like I felt like the boyfriend of the aunt was just a cartoon character. I mean, I really did not like that character at all. Like, and like they had the right idea with the abusive boyfriend, but the problem is he's just in so little of the movie that it's just almost inconsequential, those characters.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Yeah, but at the end with Wade, I like that you have this quality where you kind of root for the kid. He idolizes Holiday. You kind of buy that. Okay, this kid could actually win it. And I think they communicate enough of that in the film, where it's like there's not a lot to this guy, but it's like, what, I want this kid to win.
Yeah.
He's kind of an intelligent scrapper. Not in terms like he's not a builder like our other character, which we're going to get to, which is the consummate builder and awesome. But he's very much kind of like, this is the guy he's a scrapper in that. I love that junkyard setting. I think that really speaks to him. I really love that. That's probably my favorite set piece in the whole one of my favorite set pieces in the whole film, where he goes to like the back of that van somewhere, like not the one in the third act, but like the van in the junkyard.
Straight out of the book, by the way, just visually speaking, it's a perfect representation of what's in the book with that hideout.
I just think that, again, that speaks to that kind of that Charlie Bucket quality of just like he's a kid who comes from nothing, but again, he's got the heart in it. He's got the heart of like a creative guy who buys like it's just he's literally trying to escape things, and of course, escapism is a big part of this movie. Escapism is, I would imagine, with the book too, is a huge.
Oh theme. God, yes. Oh my God, yeah.
So yeah, I like that we kind of get the escapism, like a guy who's like really not living the high life. Some ironic ways, he was going way down. He's going way down deep and kind of to his core, where we see where his really comes alive through the game and alone, privately, versus like really things not going well in the stacks.
And I do think from like a social commentary point of view, they do a good job of showing how disconnected from real life Wade is at the start of the story, especially compared to Artemis. Like that's probably the main takeaway I have with his character, is that he does have the arc of like appreciating the real world more as the story goes on.
Yeah, you're right. That is a solid arc. And
it basically, as Halliday points out, the real world is the only thing that's real.
Mm-hmm.
Well, speaking of Artemis, should we transition?
Sure. I actually think that the movie version of Artemis is a lot better than the book version, to tell you the truth.
Well, I love Artemis, and it's kind of hard to say who. I think H is really cool, but I think Artemis still at the end might be my favorite character. I really love Artemis.
Yeah, I mean, all the stuff in the third act when she gets kidnapped.
Yeah.
That's all stuff that Wade does in the book.
Wait, what do you mean by that? You mean like he gets kidnapped?
Well, when they're sent to the loyalty center.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Wade's the one who ends up in the loyalty center. And he does something slightly different in the book. Like they don't hack into Sorrento's chair like they do in the movie. But I'm just saying that was a big change in the from book to movie, is that is that Artemis ends up in the loyalty center.
I think it seems like, I am sure there's some people out there who could be really critical and say, oh, hey, they're doing the old the girlfriend's in peril subplot. Well, no, it's not that at all. She's a constant character.
Think it's her being proactive. I mean,
exactly. That's what I'm saying. I think it's it sounds like a smart change from the book to this, to give her more like a really pivotal role, and that she's the one again. Links
in the book, she was nothing, Dragon. She was. Would you attest to that, Jacob?
from what I remember, pretty much.
I mean,
Wow,
she
that's
has no
shocking.
character in the book.
Because she's really impressive in this movie. I'm amazed that she's like kind of like barely in the book.
I
I
mean,
mean,
I wouldn't say she's barely in the book. I would just say in the book she's kind of like how Wade is in the movie, where she's just kind of like, oh, she's just kind of there existing. Yeah, there's Artemis.
Does she lead like a rebellion in the book though?
No, not really.
Wow. Okay, man, they really stripped everything away from her in that book.
In the book, she's just kind of like a famous like live stream gamer, which they like briefly touch on in the movie.
Do they say that her name is Samantha Cook in the book?
Yes.
I think this is kind of cute that, hey, Samantha Cook is played by Olivia Cook. It's like a cute little observation.
One thing I will say in the book that annoys the fuck out of me is that they really draw out the birthmark thing. Like we don't see Artemis in real life until the very end of the book. That's another big change from the movie, by the way.
Hey, I know people with really bizarre looking birthmarks, and I've seen a guy who has a friend of mine. He has like a birthmark that kind of like it's almost like his whole arm is coated in it. And I'm just saying they could have really done like they really need to do something better than the birthmark they end up with in that movie. I mean, it was like a little.
I'm just saying, like, even the way that it's described in the book isn't that bad. It's like we have this whole book's worth of buildup of like, oh, is she really going to be the 300-pound guy in the basement? Is she going to be like hideously disfigured? Is she going to be in a wheelchair? No, she just has a birthmark.
What I'm saying, because it sounds very underwhelming, doesn't it?
Oh, it totally is underwhelming in the book, Dragon. It's incredibly underwhelming.
In the movie, it's pretty underwhelming too. Like, that's what you're worried about? It's just like a little.
I mean, they definitely could have played that into her self-esteem angle a bit more.
Yeah.
We should have done Emma from Bates Motel, and she has like the CF and everything. That would have been more compelling.
Exactly. She basically could have just been Emma.
God. Yeah. Well, so what we do have with her, aside from the birthmark thing, she has. That's like the only letdown with her character. Everything else, I think she's really strong. I love how she's kind of this. She's leading kind of the anti-IOI charge. After, correct me if I'm wrong, guys. In the movie, doesn't she like she lost her family, right?
She lost her father in particular. I'm not really sure what happened to her mother.
Well, her mother ran away, Tiki, and then came back to get murdered a few seasons later.
Oh, God. All right.
Okay, enough of that. Sorry. Anyway, so she. I know she had like a loss. I forgot if it was both parents or not.
I just kind of realized this movie doesn't have many daddy issues.
Well, I mean, we have the boyfriend.
No, now that you think about it, no, it really doesn't.
We do have the boyfriend thing, though, which is like a male figure, which is kind of like an abusive male figure. I don't know.
That's true.
And again, we have like you could look. You don't have a direct like father link, but what you do have is an absence of a father figure with her, and you have
Halliday kind of being like the would-be father figure for Wade.
Yeah, you have Halliday, and you have the negative father figure if you want to look into the issues of it all with Sorrento.
Yes.
I suppose that is true.
I'm just saying connections, I guess, could be made. So, I mean, I think what they're going for with the birthmark, by the way, last thing I'll say about, I guess, the birthmarks, I think the concept they're trying to get across in both versions I'm going to infer with the book is that she's a little, she's self-conscious in real life, but again, she's very gregarious and very just kind of she's owning the Oasis. She's kind of like she's the coolest gamer in the Oasis practically, and it's just that we get like a shy recluse in real life to the kind of gregarious gamer. That's not a bad idea, but again, we got to make it a little bit more like startling or like kind of change it up a little, differentiate those two.
Yeah.
I do like with the relationship though. I mean, let's not go too into the relationship, but I mean, I do like the gamer love that develops chemistry-wise. Let me emphasize that chemistry-wise, I like Artemis and Wade's. Artemis and Z's relationship.
I mean, it's definitely handled better than it is in the book because, like I said, in the book, there's a lot of creepy, like stalker undertones to it. Unfortunately,
yeah. Well,
but, in the movie, I do think it's a little rushed.
That's the thing. Aside from it being rushed, I mean, you buy the.
It feels more genuine, though.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It feels genuine. It just. It's still handled a little clunkily, but at least you kind of buy. Okay, I buy where we get at the end point. Just kind of getting there is like a little bumpy. It's like, yeah, it's a little. Well, we had to cram it into a movie essentially.
I mean, the way I see it, and the way I kind of see it, though, is like at first he's like, it's basically like when he's saying he loves you, it's basically like he just basically has a crush on her at that point. Like it's not like genuine. It's just like, oh, I just have a crush on you. I've like and all that.
Exactly. It just feels like we have to kind of jump the gun on there, and make a silly mistake in the movie, so we can just get from point A to point B.
Yeah, I mean it's like he's a teenage boy. He's stupid, basically.
Okay.
I'm just kidding on that, but you know what I mean.
I love how pop culture savvy she is. Like she knows Buckaroo Banzai.
Yeah.
I didn't mean any of that, by the way.
All right.
No, you're fine, Jacob.
She's very capable. She's very capable.
Okay, let's move on to my favorite character, H.
Yeah. H.
I think in terms of like book to movie, this is the most accurate representation. I was so happy with what they did with H. I think her role is even more expanded than it was in the book, even though in the book we do get that great kind of we get a really great moment with H in the book when Wade first meets her in real life. And I actually think that moment in the book is pulled off considerably better than it is in the movie. Not that it's bad in the movie by any means. I just think in the book, it's like a really powerful, like heavy hitting moment. And in the movie, it's just kind of like, oh, it's you. It's you.
I have a really funny story about H, actually. So here's the thing. So going into the movie, I think it was in that same like Superman TV spot or something where we had the bit that Tiki was telling me about at some point off air. Where we have the it's the bit in the movie. It's also in the trailer where Show, I believe it's Show, like the kid, or the 11-year-old kid is it's like, yeah, I'm not 11. She says, oh, just come here and give me a hug. So going into this movie, I afraid of like I may have spoiled something in that TV spot. I was thinking, oh no, wait a minute. I remember Tiki way back when he was just gushing about Ready Player One, mentioning something about this H character, and it was like some sort of really clever reveal about H. And I was thinking, oh boy, H is so. This whole movie, a part of me in the back of my mind was thinking, the 11-year-old kid's going to be H. And if you watch the movie, when you go through it, you'll notice. I mean, H kind of acts. Kind of kid-like and immature in place, and has that high-pitched voice. And I'm thinking, yeah,
oh my god, that's hilarious.
So the whole movie, I was thinking it's the 11-year-old kid was H. And again, when we get to the Act 2, the second key, it makes a lot of sense that okay, that's why H hasn't seen that movie. So again, I was thinking, oh yeah, it's got to be the kid. It's got to be the kid. So I was just really like, oh my god, that's surprising.
That's great, Dragon. I'm glad that my own hype tricked you.
Yeah, so with H, H is great. It's it's a really great character in H because I always love kind of like he is the tech expert / the builder, and I love how impressive we are in like with H, and that H is building the Iron Giant, and we're building all sorts of cool things that H is.
The Akira bike up in 5 minutes.
I love that, and then, by the way, when we get to the technology and stuff, I just love how we repair things in the game, where we like have a miniature totem of what the vehicle is, and that's essentially what, like a model almost. That's what H repairs to fix the actual vehicle, and that's fantastic. So H was very impressive, and also kind of brings some comic relief. And as you said, the whole like could be a 300-pound guy in his basement for all you know. And while H is kind of giant and imposing, I love how, like, again, I remember from the first trailer, we saw this giant, like, kind of orc-looking, like, giant kind of, like, almost like World of Warcraft-looking monster guy with cybernetic monster guy in H. I had no idea that was H, by the way. I had no idea.
I had no idea that was H either, for the record, even though I read the book.
That's the thing. So, I mean, I remember that because that was like the big money shot, like blasting away Freddy Krueger and all the other shadowy bad guys, and I had no idea. And then I'm seeing that, oh, so that's H, and I love that we have this huge imposing character who's driving like a giant monster truck in the big opening race, and that character is like so friendly, and he's the confidant. It's kind of the juvenile confidant, scared of horror movies. Like I can get behind a character like H. It's like I like this character.
And then, of course, by the end of the movie, H is like the getaway driver by all intents and purposes, and I like that. I like that she serves a very practical role, And
it makes and her whole maintenance thing makes sense.
Yeah, I just love all 5 of them in the van hanging out together. Like, that's something we didn't get a ton of in the book, was all 5 of them in the same room, and I think the movie kind of expanded on that in a good way.
Yeah.
All right. So, Dido and Show, I think we can kind of talk about them collectively, because honestly, Dragon, you'd be surprised, because, like, for as little as they get in the movie, they get even less in the book.
Really?
Like, in the book, I swear to God, they're just stereotypes. Like, they just bow to Parzival and talk about honor. Like, literally every line they have is like, honor this, honor that. It's honestly kind of offensive.
So basically, they're doing their Zuko impression.
Pretty much. They say honor in the book more than Zuko. And then one of them gets unceremoniously killed off screen.
So here's something that bugs me about these two, and guys, correct me if I'm wrong, if I missed something in the movie or if I missed something in the book or something. So, if I'm remembering correctly, Dido, he was the cool red samurai looking guy, right? And again, Dido had all the cool bits, especially kind of the big, the big third act moment, right? Had the big kind of big showdown.
Yeah.
And now, if I'm correct here, and then we have Show's basically the yellow guy, kind of little, essentially yellow ninja with the swords, right?
Right.
And that's the 11-year-old kid. Show's the 11-year-old kid, right?
Correct.
Now, here's the thing that puzzled me though, because in the movie, and it just kind of dawned on me the minute I got out of the movie, is that Show was really built up. They said, "Oh, you're the coolest 11-year-old in the game ever." They give my little pep talk, and and here's the thing that puzzles me. We gave Dido all the cool stuff that I think they mixed up their characters in the writing of this movie. I think they realized we gave Dido all the cool stuff in the movie where we should have given it to the 11-year-old kid to make that line make sense. I mean, tell me, am I wrong on that? Did I screw?
No, I mean, basically, I think what that line is trying to say is that Parzival is kind of complimenting Show in the moment, like, for being an 11-year-old, he's a total badass, even though we haven't really seen a ton of him being a badass.
Because he really doesn't do anything in the game.
Not really. All. I mean, I think he has more to do in the third act, where he's the one person with Wade who kind of follows him all the way through.
Yeah, it's about it. He's just like, hey, here's the guy in the other cool costume, just kind of going around with him. That's about it.
But I do, like I said, I do think that Dido and Show are we see more of them than we do in the book. Like, they get the shining scene, which, basically a lot of the book is just Wade on his own. So I like that the movie paired up a lot of the characters for sequences. I mean, like I said, in the book, they're literally, honestly, two of the worst literary characters I've ever come across in the book, because they're just offensively just like, Anna. And so the movie, they're lighthearted, and I like the moment when Olivia Cook's like, dude, give me a hug. It's a nice, heartwarming, like, I don't know. I like how defensive Show is about being an 11-year-old, because I once was that 11-year-old who signed up for a forum and got all defensive about my age. I can totally relate to that.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, again, I like that. I love that hug gag is funny. It's just a problem of I wish we gave him some cool stuff. Like, Dido got literally all the cool things. Like, they couldn't have given any of that to the kid.
I think the kid should have had the Gundam moment at the very least.
That's the thing, because I love with these characters, but again, specifically Dido, because he gets everything. I love the anime connect. Essentially, he's the anime connect to the group. He gets all kind of the cool kind of kind of our Gundam stuff and our all sorts of,
with the exception of Akira.
Yes.
Again, with the exception of Akira, sure, but again, I love that we kind of get that through these characters. Again, more so through the one character than the other. But yeah,
I've actually seen Akira, and at first I actually thought that was a Tron light cycle.
You're not. I didn't think it was Tron, but I just thought it was like this is a cool bike. But I was like, part of me was wondering, oh man, when I heard Akira, I was like, oh my god, that's amazing. It's Akira, and it looks just like it. Yeah.
That's probably the closest thing we'll ever get to a live-action Akira movie.
Let's hope so. Let's hope so.
What's the deal with that? Did they stop developing that or what?
Yes.
That's what I thought. All right.
Okay. Yeah, not much else to say about them. Like I said, at the very least, they're not offensive stereotype caricatures like they are in the book.
Yeah.
All right. So let's turn to the other side of the coin. Let's go to the corporate overlord. So let's start with Halliday and Morrow, and then kind of build up to our villains here. So starting with Halliday, honestly, I gotta say, out of the Mark Rylance Renaissance, this is probably my least favorite Mark Rylance performance.
Really?
I mean, he was the BFG for crying out loud too.
I know, and I love him as the BFG. I love the BFG.
He was also in Bridge of Spies and also in Dunkirk.
And Dunkirk, yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like Rylance. It's almost like Spielberg is trying to understand nerd culture, and he's just not really getting it. And I feel like Rylance, like, he's just so awkward and so, like, I don't know. I just felt the performance was, like, over the top and disingenuous, to tell you the truth.
Here's the thing, too. I'm going to make an argument that I think a lot of that's intentional, in that I think what they were going for, I like what we're, at the very least, I like what we're trying to say with Halliday, because the way Rylance played it is he played it less enigmatic. Because everyone thinks he's enigmatic. I think the way he played, the choice that was made with Rylance's performance, that he's less enigmatic, he's more introverted and private. So like people interpreted him as like a Willy Wonka type, where in reality he's just, he's a shy game designer.
No, I mean, Dragon, I totally get all that, and that's a big part of his character through the books too. My whole problem is I just don't think that Rylance captured the whole, like, shy, awkward, nerdy gamer type. Like, I felt like it was a kind of a hollow performance, honestly.
I mean, I kind of liked how nonchalant he was in places like the whole, like, are you going to take it or what?
That was...
And honestly, even in the younger days, he looked kind of too old for someone who grew up in the 80s.
That's another issue I had. I do think, frankly, I think Mark Rylance, as great as he is as an actor, I think he's a little too old for this role. I honestly think Simon Pegg was kind of more in line with what I was picturing book version of Halliday to be like, to tell you the truth. I don't know.
Anyway, so regardless,
I had Jude Law in my head when I was reading the book, to tell you the truth of Halliday.
Well, that was also another good casting choice. I'd be behind Jude Law. Like him. But I mean, again, just with the character himself, though, I really do like what we're saying with the whole partnership between Halliday and Morrow, because I love the whole, we have kind of this ominous mystery that we're kind of learning through the past, kind of through like the library of events in James Halliday's life, and what we learn as it continues and persists through the plot is that we learn that this mystery is, it's less an ominous mystery, but more like a personal examination of his failures. So you're going to get to know the guy through his life of, his failures, or less failures, more his hesitations in life, and kind of what brought him to going corporate, like kind of what made him into a corporate overlord, let's say. We kind of turned like a game designer into like a Willy Wonka type.
Right.
And as a guy who and think about this with Anorak, the whole Anorak of it all, which, by the way, fun fact, Ernie Klein's DeLorean has a license plate that says Anorak.
Nice.
So it's the fact, I think, that he wanted to be seen as a wizard. Like, the two things that Halliday wants to show, he wants to show the gamer who's going to get at the end, going to get the company. He wants to show Z, essentially, is the two things that he shows himself as: the wizard Anorak, who basically kind of like the huge kind of symbol in a game, kind of the Deus Ex Machina of any game, and at his core, what we see at the third act, which I really love, and it's honestly where my favorite stuff in the whole movie is a lot of, in the very end of where we go with all this stuff. He's just a kid playing video games. I think that's really speaks
to
what,
to me, is like the most Spielbergian we ever get in the movie. Is
exactly
the stuff between Halliday, like old version of Halliday and kid version of Halliday.
Yes, I mean, that's the stuff I love most in the movie, like those Spielbergian touches in the heart that we reveal. Again, I like that we build to kind of this really heartfelt kind of discovery of, okay, at his core, like, you remove the Russian doll, the Russian nesting doll, if you will, through the movie of Halliday, and you keep going and going and going. At his core, like the big-eyed little gamer baby inside.
Some kind of weird roundabout way. Kind of reminds me of AI.
In a way, yeah, it is kind of a more successfully plotted AI in a way. So with the Ogden Morrow of it all, so Ogden Morrow, I think he's not in the movie long, but I think he's in the movie. Here's what I think, Tiki. I'm gonna throw this at you guys. it feels like Halliday and Morrow combined actually make a Willy Wonka. Combined, they make a Willy Wonka.
I could see that. That's a good assessment.
Yeah, you can see that too.
And perhaps you could see it in the movie as individually these guys, they don't.
In the book, I think it's way more obvious in the book that it's like in the movie. I feel like they divert this, but in the book, it's like it's super obvious that it's supposed to be Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak.
Yeah, and it feels like with the whole split and everything, it feels like they're going for that a little in terms of.
Like even in the movie, they referred to Halliday as the new Jobs.
Yeah, what it feels like
in the book, Morrow is just a total Steve Wozniak caricature, which he's definitely not in the movie.
Yeah, and I guess together when they're combined, it's like Holiday, he's the face, and he has like the Wonka haircut, and he has kind of the look, and like he gets all the attention of it. Ogden Morrow, on the other hand, he's the guy who embodies kind of the Gene Wilder-esque kind of like the personality and kind of the kind of like the Jules Verne-esque thing at the end of like, hey, there you go, kids, you got the stuff, you got the spirit, that kind of like he's the nice kind of friend that like Charlie, whatever happened to the man who got everything he ever wanted, he lived happily ever after. That's kind of what Simon Pegg's doing.
And I love the curator in this movie too, because that to me is another like super Spielbergian touch.
Oh yeah,
just and this cranky butler robot who's also helpful at the same time.
Yeah, and again, we have a really nice arc between these two, and what's cool is with that split, I feel the book, I don't know, again, you guys can speak to this better than I can, but I don't know if the book like handles this better or not, but what I got the impression of what they're trying...
in the book, so that's something that they made up for the movie, which was a good touch.
Sure. Well, I mean, in terms of what we do with the arc between these two friends, I like kind of what I think what they're plotting out in the story, that, okay, these two guys together, they created the Oasis, and as it goes forward, they split after the company is kind of forged. And as they split, they kind of go on an arc of. We see what Halliday discovered through what's revealed in the game. We see that he learned that what his friend was suggesting to him, that hey, if we built something that could have some dangerous repercussions for society, if people are going to become too enamored with the game. And, the world might kind of see, people are going to be less invested in reality in the real world, and they're going to become sucked up in the game. And just being like kind of the happy-go-lucky gamer, Halliday is just kind of, he's losing what reality is. And I think what he discovered as I think as the movie shows, the more he probably regretted that, and he saw Morrow's point, years later, and he kind of put that into the programming to kind of make amends to his friend. And I think that's kind of the great thing that's kind of the great thing that Morrow learns by the end of this movie. We kind of mend a friendship while one of the friends is dead, in a way. It's kind of like how Up is like an unfinished love story. This is sort of like an unfinished like kind of friendship, or like a reconciliation between friends, in a way.
You can almost see it as a way like Halliday realized that there are no extra lives in real life.
Yeah, it's yes, and it's sort of like he's showing that he did learn. He's like trying. By the end, it's like if someone one of these days, kind of, if they sign the contract, logically, my friend will have to be involved in that process, and hopefully that gamer who won will be able to kind of communicate what he learned, and in communicating what he learned, he will show that I learned from Morrow. I learned at the end Morrow was right, and I agree with him when I should have years ago. So it's kind of a beautiful apology that way.
Yeah. Okay, now moving on to our villains. Let's start with the lamest character in the movie, which is Finale. Totally movie-only character. This is just such a nothing character. She's like, hey guys, have you ever heard of the henchwoman who's sick of her job and wants to move up and overtake the boss?
Let's just say, I think Finale, I think she speaks to one of the big problems with our villains in this movie, in that I think we kind of, you guys can speak to this. Do we have death in the book? Do we have real world death in the book?
Oh yeah.
We do. Okay. I don't know. It feels like it's like she's very capable in the field and kind of this future setting, and she's the one getting her hands dirty, but she feels like unnecessary tension in the third act. Okay,
she's totally unnecessary. You could just completely cut her out.
Yeah, that's the thing. It just feels like she's like.
Honestly, just kind of takes away how threatening Sorrento actually was.
Sorrento, I think we accomplish everything we need to with Sorrento without her, because we basically we have a bit in the movie with him where he gives like a callous line saying, it's a funny line, but it's a dark funny line where he says, "Hey, you killed my aunt," and he says, "Hey, that was like an executive order." Where again, it's more like, "Hey, that's just the cost of doing business, and we could like order like a drone strike on somebody, and that's quite horrifying." And like, okay, so she was there when the drone strike happened. And, she's going after him later on. It's like, do we need this whole like, hey, I'll handle it myself. Like she can handle a gun, so can I. Again, she's adding to that problem. We don't need any of that. We don't need the businessman taking the gun. We don't really need that scene.
Yeah, like I said, it's just like, we've seen this whole plot line of she's the henchwoman who thinks she could do better than the big bad. Like it's such a it's almost like Miss Lint from The Tick, but just done really, really, really lame.
Let me summarize it like this. Okay, we have a beautiful moment with Sorrento. Like where we go at the end of his story. His story should end at a very certain point at the movie. At the very end of the movie, he has a moment with the Easter egg. That's where it ends. That's a good ending for him. The problem is, right after that scene, we see him being carted. We have a completely unnecessary scene, and unnecessary purely because of finale, because he's being led away and he's being arrested, and we have a bit where like he's saying, "Okay, now finale, listen to me," and she bashes him in the head, or like she punches him or something.
Yeah.
Like, do we really that undercut? Like we should have left his scene like that. The ending that he had with the Easter egg.
Completely agree.
Like his ending, that's a Spielberg ending. It's like it's like Keys from E.T. It's like we don't need it said. It's like what's maybe communicated.
Maybe not quite that profound, but yeah.
I'm just saying it's like a moment where we have these unspoken Spielberg moments where we have like everything with our characters said without him uttering a word. Like he's there with the rest. Or like you want like Close Encounters, like with our scientists, with kind of our ominous kind of government guys, and including his. You don't need it said; he's just there, and he infers it. That's a Spielberg moment, which we undercut with like, "Hey, remember that?" And it's like, why did he have to speak again? We ended the story.
All right. Okay, so let's get to IROC, a character who is technically in the books in name only, but my God, is this a different interpretation of this character, right, Jacob?
I really liked IROC. I thought it was fun.
I can definitely see that both versions of the character, both the movie and the book version, could definitely be T.J. Miller-esque.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. So basically, Dragon, in the book, IROC is a gunter, but he's like a really cocky gunter who's like always like bragging about his achievements to H and Parzival. He's basically like a friendly rival to H and Parzival, who's also kind of a dick troll. And so, yeah, they basically took his personality and turned it into like a henchman, which just completely different. And I honestly would probably prefer the book version of IROC, just because I feel like it's more in line with what an actual gamer would be like in the Oasis.
That's true, but in the end, though, with IROC, he did have a very gamer-esque moment where he realized, oh, wait, I'm working with the bad guy who's going to take away everything I worked so hard for years. I don't want to work with this guy. I'm getting out of here.
I love how he calls Sorrento a camper. Jacob, I'm sure you playing Splatoon, you know what the term camper means, right?
Yeah, I mean, I played a lot of multiplayer games. I know exactly what a camper is.
Yes. I was really happy to see that kind of like multiplayer lingo worked in there.
What is camper anyway?
Basically, a camper is like it's basically an extremely derogatory term for basically someone who basically waits in one place and kills numerous people who run by. That's like the most basic form of camping.
Oh,
okay. And trust me, in the game Splatoon, it gets annoying as hell.
It's basically someone who goes the easy way to get extremely easy kills.
Yeah,
I see.
And in Splatoon, the whole point isn't about getting kills, so it bothers the fuck out of me. But anyways,
well, what's funny? I don't know if you said this first, Tiki, but I think I remember it was brought up somehow. I think when the cast was announced, and remember you were really crazy about H, and I think you may have speculated that T.J. Miller might have been H. I don't know if I was like assumed T.J. Miller was going to be H, when the cast was announced.
I mean, I know I didn't, because T.J. Miller was always IROC.
I don't know if there was a point where they just announced the names before they revealed the roles. I guess I really didn't look into it. I guess I blindly assumed before like the first time we heard the H speak. I guess. Okay. Well, anyway. So yeah. So
I mean, like I was used to the characterization he had in the book, and so when they introduced like the guy with the skull for a chest walking around, I was like, who's this guy? When he said IROC, I was like, wait, what?
I like that similar to H. He has like another big imposing figure, and this guy's even scarier. There's a skull in his chest, and we reveal, okay, it's just T.J. Miller having a lot of fun.
To tell you the truth, I got this crimp in my neck. I think I need physical therapy. I love that running gag.
That's a little. Can you stand on my left? Then you just stand on my left.
It's kind of funny though that of all the characters we see with avatars in the game, he's the only one we actually don't see in real life. Like of the main characters, of course.
Yeah.
Which I gotta wonder if there was some stuff of T.J. Miller that got cut.
I don't know.
I gotta say, guys, I don't want to sugarcoat it. T.J. Miller is one of those people where it's like he's kind of like a haha, I haven't been caught yet kind of guy. I don't know. I don't want to drag down the conversation by any means, but
anyway, what I really like that it communicates into Iraq is I love that he's a guy who's smarter than he looks. I love he's this intellectual kind of not intellectual, he's very he's a gamer through and through who has that giant imposing avatar. With his own self-interest, he has self-interest in the game, and I love that in his. He's not a direct, he's not a murderer necessarily. He's not just taking people out in the club. He's just I got an awesome plan. I'm just going to be there. I'm going to listen into him. I'm going to get details I can refer back to. Again, I love that he wasn't the guy you would imagine. He's going to go in there. He's going to be all, he's going to shoot up the place. He's going to get really a hands-on approach. Where no, he's actually doing things the smart way. It's wow, I appreciate that. That's a strategic gamer right there.
He's actually really competent.
That's what I'm saying. I love how competent he is. Yeah. The Tootsie Pop analogy was really funny.
Oh my god, that had me dying.
That's one of my favorite gags in the movie. The whole
commercial with the owl.
The fact that it's triple my 1, 2, 3 triple my salaries is done. Wait, can I go back? Can I say more? I should have said 5 times my salary. This is ridiculous. So yeah, T.J. Miller is funny though. You gotta give him that.
Okay, so moving on to the main big bad, let's go with Nolan Sorrento.
I love his last name, Sorrento.
I will say this guy is way, way better than he was in the book.
Yeah, the great Ben Mendelsohn. Ben Mendelsohn loves playing corporate pricks. He really does, and he does a wonderful job with them.
Even acknowledging it in this one.
Yeah, because his avatar is literally like an egocentric version. Basically, it's he plays a giant, almost Street Fighter-esque businessman. He basically looks I'm blanking on his name right now. The one Nostalgia Critic plays.
M. Bison.
M. Bison. Basically, looks like M. Bison as a businessman.
Right.
And I love with that avatar, it speaks to his character visually. This is a guy in choosing an avatar. He's very egocentric in that he has to bolster himself like that, but it also speaks to the whole dumb plot line we have where he wants to get his hands. He views himself as a capable guy who can do the hands-on approach. He has to be in the game doing these, doing stuff as an avatar because he wants the hand-on approach. And hey, he can do this, and he has something to prove with that gun thing later on. With the giant boss avatar, he's kind of showing that here's a guy who thinks he can handle himself. In reality, he's covered by a giant robot later on. He's not all capable. He's always the little Weasley guy in the chair.
So in the book, I feel like Sorrento is a little bit more just outright evil. But in the movie, I feel like they give him a lot more personality.
They do.
In the book, really, he gets 2 scenes, and that's it. In the movie, his role is very much expanded upon.
The moment I saw him in the movie, I was thinking, okay, so he's like an evil corporate Slugworth.
God.
Because he is. He's trying to steal these, he's kind of stealing the everlasting gobstopper of the plot, if you will.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I mean, you're not wrong when you describe him that way,
And again, I love that scene where he's trying to convince Wade and promise him all these things, and I love that he has his pop culture experts on the other line, and he tries again with the fast times gambit.
And Ben Mendelsohn is just really doing a great job of trying to you know, trying to appear hip and cool. You know,
I know, I love it.
I
Oh, it's great. I do like seeing kind of our opposing hero and villain in that scene too. I love that you can look at the various points in the movie, just seeing Wade as like kind of the poor kid versus this yeah, Wade is like kind of a scrapper of a gamer, a guy who's like in a junkyard just kind of using hand-me-down gloves and stuff, and he's just using what he could find essentially to play in the Oasis versus Sorrento here. Sorrento is a guy who has all the money, all the means, and all the resources because he's got that giant like state of the art chair. He's got the chair. He's got all this money. He's throwing at him. He's offering him. And what he is at the end of the day, again with the Slugworth comparison, he's kind of a perversion of Halliday's dream. It's where Halliday was a guy who started in kind of a place of obsession. And at the end of that obsession, like Halliday, he never got to this point. But had Halliday gone on, had he bought it, had he not been remorseful within that arc within the game, had we not revealed that he felt regret that he didn't listen to his partner, he would have become greedy. He would have become obsessed, and he would have realized, oh my god, I'm so invested in the game, and we're making money off of it. Wow, to the point where you get. Sorrento, who's like all about the greed, all about we got to own everything. We got to basically steal the candy factory, if you will.
80% of your vision is going to go to ads in the Oasis.
It's like it's bad enough as it is. The ads are bad enough now.
At the end of the day, it really boils down to, and apparently it's in the book as well. At the end of the day, we just show how far gone this guy is, and the fact that he's killing people for a game.
Yeah, I really like how unhinged he gets in the finale with the gun and everything. That to me kind of represents how scary he was throughout the book. But like I said, in the book he just gets less screen time, and in the movie he's really all over the movie a lot more than the book.
I'm mixed on the gun because again, I just think that whole executive order line of like, hey, I just that came down from the executive. I just blew up that building. When he drops the veneer for that moment where he tells him like, hey, look, no one cares about the stacks, no one cares about that slummy area you live from. You think they're going to look into a bombing where basically he threatens to blow up the where he threatens to blow up the family. He says, I know who you are. Basically in that whole, that to me was terrifying. I think that does the job enough with him. But you're right, though. It is unhinged to see him like just kind of going around there with nothing to lose. While that is true, at the same time, though, it's like he's about to shoot someone point blank in the face in front of like every witness in there who hates him because they know he blew up he blew up like a whole apartment complex. It's very, there's no way he's walking out of there scot-free, but he is at the same time unhinged. So it's kind of a mix.
It's basically another way to show that he is also out of touch with reality in a way.
I guess, yeah, that's the way of looking at it. I'm kind of coming around on that more than I was initially, because thinking, you stupid idiot, you're just going to shoot someone. You pull all the whole, no one cares, and we have the best lawyers in town, they're going to discredit all that. There's a lot of witnesses. That's going to be hard to argue in court. But I love he had that brief. It's crazy, but he has like a brief redemptive moment with the Easter egg where that kind of snaps him out of, like, while he's far gone, he reminds himself, like, it's almost like, like getting the Ark of the Covenant in Raiders, where you kind of have that moment where, like, hey, we have it, and it looks kind of beautiful. It's almost like that, or like the suitcase from Pulp Fiction, where it's like, you get distracted by how beautiful it is, and you kind of come to your senses for a moment, and you realize, okay, well, I'm caught. I can't just kill them while the cops are here, so, okay, I'm done, but I got to see it, though. I got to see what was the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Good stuff.
Yeah. That's Sorrento.
Right.
Sorrento.
Okay, world building and technology, because they go hand in hand in this movie.
I love the tech in this movie. I really do. I love how basically the futuristic setting we have is really cool, and the 2045 setting. Basically, what we're doing is we're kind of showing where we're at now and really expanding it. And I don't know if Klein, you had all, and you guys can answer this for me. Did we have like a virtual reality headset in the book?
Oh yeah, that's pretty much how they access the Oasis.
I wonder. Because I'm just trying to wonder if, because now basically what we do visually in the movie is it looks very much like kind of the VR headsets we have now, which I don't believe are around. And the book came out in 2011, right?
Yeah.
I don't know if we had those.
it's pretty much described the same. Like they not specifically. It doesn't specifically look like the described as like the VR headsets that they have now, but it's basically described as something they place over their eyes. And like basically, it's kind of like how that's like basically describes like it's a they put it over your body and it like creates these simulations of pretty much how it works in the movie, pretty much.
Sure, yeah, and that's cool, but I like kind of seeing how eerily close we are to this sort of thing now. Where okay, it's like you can buy that. Okay, so like a few decades from now, we'll have basically the VR tech we have now. We can basically go into like a more immersive experience. It's going to be more kind of so again. I like seeing like the inklings of where we're at now, and where we're going. So I think it's successful in kind of envisioning a future. So it's a book while in the making has become more and more relevant. So that's kind of cool.
I just hope if they do make those highly immersive suits, they avoid the feeling in the crotch, getting kicked in the crotch area.
Well, unless Olivia Cook's around. So anyway, so let's see. We have
you want to get kicked in the crotch by Olivia Cook?
No, not forget the whole like the hand. No, doesn't matter anyway.
Yeah, I know.
So let's see. We have the headsets, we have the gloves, and so basically it's very simply a headset, gloves. You're there, but I love how we see when he gets all the coins, when he gets more successful, he upgrades to speaking of which, the X1 bodysuit. The X1 bodysuit is a cool. That's how you go full immersive and kind of the whole stimulation of it all there. It's like that's very impressive. A little horrifying, but also impressive, and kind of feeds into the whole social commentary. We're living more in the game than we are in real life, and that's like it's a cool thing, but at the same time, it's horrifying that we're taking immersion to a scary level, to a potentially dangerous level. Because imagine if you get killed horrifically in a game. Imagine, I'm not saying it's going to kill you in real life, but it'll take a horrific. It could give you PTSD if you're not careful.
Yeah, sorry guys, I'm kind of dealing with something at the moment, but
oh, right.
Look at the chat.
Right. Anyway, back to the thing. So yeah, so I also with the bodysuit, I really love this. I love the makeshift bodysuit too. I love how we see the various versions of this. So I love in the van with the rest of the clan, with the rest of the Gunters, with our I'm sorry, after a moment, I'm just forgetting what the actual name is. The high five with our high five gang. We're in the van. I love how we have like the makeshift bodysuit, where again it's immersive. What's really cool about this one is I love that we see we've seen them have like a treadmill, and we've kind of spiced things up a bit to show like how do you walk and talk. And again, we have a little treadmill mat, which makes sense. And again, we're not far off from that sort of thing. And we have the suspension wires in the van. I love the suspension wires in the van. That's awesome.
Uh-huh.
You can do like all these all these kicks and leaps and everything, and it's really cool. And again, we see like kind of like the chewing gum and wires of it all there. And we have on the other side of it with Sorrento, we have the awesome kind of ultimate corporate gaming chair, which again we've had gaming chairs today, and in the future be even more like so relaxive and like in the whole bodysuit and everything. It's really really neat.
I think Spielberg is a master at showing this kind of stuff. I mean, he really is. Just everything from the opening scene where we're going through the stacks and we're seeing all the different people interacting with the VR in different ways and living their lives, Dragon, as you were saying, like with the the way that we repair the vehicles is by having the little miniature versions of them. I love in the opening race how we're seeing Parzival kind of like opening, like collecting the coins. Like there's just so many little details like that in this movie that it could have easily just kind of gone over your heads and been like, wait a minute, how is this happening? But Spielberg is just such a master visual storyteller that like everything comes off just so naturally well.
Yeah, and also, I guess last thing with the tech before we get to the world building of it all. I mean, the loyalist. I love the loyalist gamer cells. That's what they're called, right? Loyalist, loyalty center. Anyway, those gamer cells. I like how we're seeing kind of again like the horrific implication of this is what people do in their off time when they're forced to do this, and they're kind of like they're tethered to the thing. You get the electroshock, and they can't remove your headset. So it's kind of showing the horrificness of if you become too invested in this game, you could become essentially a corporate puppet and just kind of be locked into this thing. Scary. So the world building of it all, again, speaking of scary, it's scarily accurate.
This is just like this is the reality. We're just going to get more and more obsessed with technology. Technology is going to get better and better. Real life is going to get shittier and shittier.
it's a more pointed version of what we get in like something like Wall-E, where we see like an inevitable future where okay, people are going to be kind of a, they're not going to see 2 feet in front of them because of the technology in front of their face type future. And that's kind of what we do here, but we we don't shy away from it. However, again, when we get in the pros and cons, I'm going to say I think they could have approached this maybe just a smidge differently. But it's what we have here, though, what is in the movie and what I believe they adapt from the book. We see the world's in bad shape because of overpopulation, because of the pollution, corporations, corruption, and such. And it's this idea of a world that the idea the world is in such bad shape right now, we are distracting ourselves with the ultimate video game experience. Again, that is a cool yet terrifying concept, and it's a really great balance. Where again, and if you get Spielberg in on a movie like this, you have that optimistic, like, hey, here's something that's really wonderful, but at the same time, again, you have like, okay, well, why is this a bad thing? But if you really wake up and you kind of smell the roses on this, like, yeah, that's like, yeah, the future's in really bad shape in reality. When we go to sections of town, like the stacks, right off the bat, the thing I was thinking when we saw the stacks, like the slummy neighborhood, it reminded me of Batman Beyond, because in Batman Beyond they have a hierarchy system. Basically, you take like an elevator up to like you don't go like just up and down inside a building. What you do is you go like on an elevator that basically takes you to different levels of Gotham City. Where at the very bottom level, like if you're on the very bottom, it's a slummy crime alley area of Gotham in the future. That's old Gotham. You go up to the middle and you say, okay, it's like a middle class Gotham, and you go all the way up, and you're going to, it's like a very vertical hierarchy system. And we kind of do that with the stacks and the overpopulation we're just doing with any slob, anyone who's like kind of speaks to kind of your obsessed gamers in the room. Like you stack your games, you have like all these racks for games, like you stack things. And messy people, they stack things. That's kind of the hierarchical future we have now. We stack things that are some that I guess like elitists would view as junk, or like, oh no, if you're going to store something, you got to store something small, compact, and really like you don't just have. Basically, we do kind of the like Japanese apartments essentially. That's kind of what we're doing there. They go like kind of the washing machine size rooms like we saw in Logan. Well, not Logan, in the Wolverine. Like all those little. Anyway.
Yeah.
Let's see. So also, if you lose in the game, you lose a lot of time and investment. You lose if you lose, it's like
I gotta say that's one of the details. Just as a gamer myself, that would never fly in an online game.
Anthony, yeah, you're right.
I mean, for a movie, kind of just like it's a way to build stakes, basically.
Right, but like, I mean, could you imagine like just like all your gear in World of Warcraft just being stripped away after one kill? I mean, I don't even play World of Warcraft at all, but like I could just picture that. That'd be maddening.
I mean, I'm sure there's probably games out there like that.
I mean, even something as simple as Splatoon, having all my gear, like, could you imagine, like, if you lose a match in Splatoon, you lose all your weapons?
Or it's like all your fresh gear.
Right. It's just like, no, please. I'm sorry, folks. I'm sorry to keep going back to Splatoon. It's the only video game I've been playing recently.
Well, Jacob, speaking of the stakes, again, I think it all boils down to the fact that if the world is so immersed in a game, if literally everyone, as we see in that opening, seems like businessmen, children, everyone down the street, everyone like on the streets, literally by the end of the third act, and they're all like fixated on like if Z's going to win the game or not. If everyone in this world is invested in a game, and we have these corrupt corporations that are trying to take over with the Sixers, IOI and the Sixers and everything, and they're willing to blow up buildings in real life with people in them to win a game, it's a win all game system that again threatens. Basically, the real world is like no one cares about that when you just wipe away anything and just no one knows because they're all glued to the screens, like in a Wall-E sense. It's quite a horrifying status quo, but at the same time, it's stunningly conceived.
It's basically a scenario of he who controls Oasis controls the world.
Yes,
in a way.
All right. Okay, so do you want to do favorite scenes and then pros and cons, or pros and cons and then favorite scenes?
What do you want to do, Jacob?
It doesn't matter to me. I mean, I guess I could do pros and cons, so we end on more positive.
That's kind of what I'm thinking too. That's exactly what I'm thinking. Okay.
Mm.
All right, so pros, I mean, as we already addressed, the world building, the technology, all that stuff is probably the big strength of the movie.
The visual storytelling.
Just as an adaptation of the book, it's a very streamlined, like, it gets everything right in the book. It hits on the tone of the book quite well. It's, like, to me, this almost reminds me of a Jurassic Park, a Jurassic Park style Spielberg adaptation where it's very different from the book, but it's a kind of it's in its own way. It retains the characters. It does something even better with it.
I feel like it, and from the look of it, it's kind of almost like if Spielberg kind of ended up directing Back to the Future in a way too.
In a way, yes.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I think Zemeckis did perfect with that. But speaking of the Zemeckis cube, that was a pretty cool shout out.
Yeah, I love the Zemeckis cube. Well, should we highlight a few Easter eggs just because it is Easter after all?
I mean, good luck. There's so many of them.
Well, just a few. I know there's like an excess of like 150 Easter eggs. So we don't need to list all of them. Like a few
150, there's like 150 Easter eggs in like the crowd scene.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
My personal favorite is the Battle Toads.
So yeah,
we have the. Go on.
as I was saying, yeah, I like those. I mean, I'm honestly surprised there's no Easter eggs in the credits. I mean, that was nice. That's like prime opportunity.
Spielberg just doesn't like post-credit stuff. That's one of his things. He's like Nolan like that.
Well, actually, from what I heard, I wasn't able. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to stay through the credits. But I heard that we're going to have there were a lot of John Williams themes in the credits. Tiki, is that true?
I did not stay through the credits either.
Well, that's what I heard. Like they had like a whole a melody of like all sorts of like various John Williams themes played through the end credits. So.
Huh. Now I kind of want to see it a third time just to see that.
Well, why wouldn't you? So anyway, we have the '66 Batmobile, which is cool. We have Batman climbing a mountain. We got the Chris Reeve Superman. We have RoboCop.
Yep.
Zemeckis cube, as Jacob mentioned. Marty McFly haircut, as again the sell point from the Iron Giant DeLorean.
The T-Rex from Jurassic Park.
And Biggie, the Adventure, the first Easter egg ever from the Adventure game.
Of course.
And I love all the video games that we see too. I love the endless cabinets of video games and the archives. Like there's so many of them.
Yeah. So let's see, more pros. Getting back to that. So again, we love the world building, the pseudoscience, the technology of the world. Effects wise, again, it is Spielberg's Avatar in terms of, like I thought the CG looked really good in the movie. And it looks like for a video game, it looks appropriate.
I think exactly. Like it's supposed to be a video game, so obviously there's going to be some level of disconnect there. It's not supposed to look photorealistic. But for what it is, I mean, I think it's super stylized and really, really nice looking and pretty.
One scene, however, does look photorealistic and it's beautiful. We'll get there.
Oh yes, you're right.
We have an excellent cast, and we have some young. I think our young actors, they do a good job of holding their own in the movie. Again, not all of them get a lot to do, but I think they all like hold your attention. Like, okay, these guys are good. I buy them in this movie. We have cool suit.
I'm just saying, I can definitely say they definitely feel like they're part. Like they really nailed the casting again.
Yeah. We have cool social commentary that, again, that finds a little hope in the cynicism. Again, that's kind of a Spielberg signature there, finding hope within the cynicism.
Okay, is someone who, like, all my best friends are people I've met online. That includes you guys.
Yippee.
I love the whole idea of like people online coming together in the real world. Like that's something that's always going to be kind of special to me. And I can proudly say that I was part of like the first generation to really hook up and start doing that.
Essentially all your favorites make an appearance with all the various cameos and Easter eggs. Like essentially everyone's like, we have Batman on this movie.
The Iron Giant on screen again. Here you go.
I mean, come on. The closest we're going to have the Spielberg doing a superhero movie. We got Spielberg with Batman and Superman within a movie. Come on.
It's actually kind of funny that that Iron Giant actually replaced Ultraman from the book.
Yeah.
I mean, you can kind of understand. You can kind of understand why, considering Warner Brothers. They basically skirt around a lot of the cameos and by inserting like Warner Brothers stuff.
That's true.
True. I think IROC hits on Harley Quinn. I'm pretty sure.
Yep, that was definitely Harley Quinn. Arkham Knight or Arkham City or Arkham Knight Harley Quinn to be exact.
Yeah, you're right. It's the Arkham. Well, it's with the rendering, it looks like Arkham Knight.
If only they could have gotten Tara Strong to voice her.
Well, if only she could have said something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see. Here's a big one. All right, so I love within the third act is really impressive in that it's a love letter to the third act has like a love letter to games, and it has this great message of why someone creates a game, and kind of hope that and basically we see the hope that the creator has to inspire and entertain, and kind of the I guess I'm sorry. I guess the message of the movie, which is communicated through that third act, through the whole playing adventure, like that whole third act climax. It takes a while to get there. When we get there, it's just this really great sentiment that comes out, and what we see through Holiday kind of gives us this moment of realizing a game creator, game designer, hopes to hopes to inspire and entertain, at the very least entertain someone playing a game. That's definitely what the film kind of centers around. And basically what we have like now, what we have anyone who's a fan of like a deep cut gamer, it's anyone who's just a fan of the old school games or games today, the legacy and culture that's built from those games, from just kind of instant like, hey, there's a way to kill sometime, like waste a lot of quarters or, like kind of play on your Atari, 2600. It's it wasn't intended, like all of that was like the legacy and like seeing Mario every which way you go, that wasn't intended, but it adds to the majesty and to the scope of that very pure
Guys, I might have to just let you and Jacob finish the conversation.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I'm just there's like a nuclear situation going on my end.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, so it just kind of adds the scope to that pure initial goal, the outset, just to make an entertaining game, and that's kind of neat to see, there. Kind of for all the Howard Warsaws or the Warren, Robinettes of the gaming industry. It's kind of what's a love letter to those guys with the message of the movie in the third act, I think.
Basically, sharing your adventure with the world.
Yeah.
I mean, that could kind of be implied to like really be stretched to anything that you want to do, like be it filmmaking, book writing, or anything really.
Yeah. I think we spoke to a lot of cons, but I guess just a bullet point of few. Or by all means, you guys, Jacob, if you want to throw anything out there.
Well, I mean, I probably didn't hate finale as much as Tiki did, but I kind of have to agree with some of the points in there. Like it kind of just like takes away from, in some ways, it just kind of takes away from Sorrento as a character.
Yeah.
Like takes away from his presence in a way.
Right. Well, for me, yeah.
As I said, I feel like the Wade character is pretty flat.
That's fair. Here's the thing. A lot of my issues, honestly, with the movie are probably things that'd be remedied on a rewatch. But like they're of a logistical. They have a few logistical issues in that. I think we need to establish, the status quo a little simpler, a little more direct in the opening scene. I might have missed it though. That's the thing, because what they're doing here, and this is why it's really warrants a rewatch. And I guess maybe Tiki could speak to this, but either way, just it's the whole status quo. We got the pollution, we got the overpopulation, all that really cool world building stuff, and that's cool. And like looking into the movie afterwards, you kind of find that out, and that's in there. But I think what they're doing, and it's kind of a double-edged sword. While that is being established, we're seeing the Oasis, and the Oasis, it's a lot coming at you, and I think you kind of get distracted, like how exactly things work in the world building for a moment, because oh my god, look at all the splendor, Batman.
Okay. I've got two things to hit on with that.
Yeah.
Number one, I am not thrilled at the fact that the first thing you see in the Oasis is, hey, Minecraft.
Yeah.
And number two, I feel like one of the big flaws in this movie is there's way too much exposition.
Well, I'm not asking for like a whole scene, because I think it's briefly just need to show the world, but again, maybe not have it going on while just have it said like briefly in the opening, like, okay, the world, it's I don't know, something.
What I'm saying by exposition is there's just far too much like voiceover narration. I feel like you could have gotten a lot of stuff out of the way just through visually showing it. And I feel like Spielberg does a great job of visually showing how technology works. So I feel like Act 1 is a little sloppy with how it sets stuff up, because it takes us a while to get fully into like what's going on, and it takes us a while to get into the actual title screen. Like Dragon, to joke about it, it's kind of like it kind of pulls like a Gotham anti-Cold Open, where there's a lot of moments where it could cut to the title screen, but it doesn't.
Yeah. Well, the biggest logistical thing that I still can't fathom, and it's again, it might be there, it might be like a blink and you miss it like line, but again, it could just be worked in that opening kind of, maybe in like that opening monologue, while again we're being kind of showered with the splendor of of all the Oasis and like all those like characters and like the splendor of it. My main question, honestly, coming out of the movie is, how does the money work? Like, do we have no money in the real world anymore? Is it all like bitcoins and all like like the digital coins in the game? Like, what if you
Oh
lose?
yeah, in the book, it's absolutely most of the currency is just the bitcoins in the game.
Okay,
they basically the coin in the Oasis replaces the dollar in the real world.
Yeah. I mean that's pretty much how it works.
I mean, even in the movie, if you look at one of the newspapers, it says coin, the new dollar.
Uh-huh.
All right. Well, with that, let me ask you this. So if a guy loses and they lose, if they get killed off in the games, how do they buy their way back in?
You see, that's one of the logistic problems I can't solve for you.
See, that's what I'm, and that's exactly that's why I'm asking about the money. I still can't. I kept thinking to myself, did I miss something in that opening monologue?
As I said, I think that the whole thing with the one kill equals losing all your stuff is a little too extreme for the stakes.
Yeah. So here's another thing, and this is something I would imagine be explained in the book. It's unclear how the avatars and the IP work. Like how do we get all? I know we have all these iconic characters. It's a question of, so are they gamers who are taking on these skins of iconic characters?
Yes.
Yeah, pretty much.
I don't know
if it's not actually Beetlejuice that you see greeting Parzival. It's a guy in a Beetlejuice skin.
That's a thing, because some of it I would have liked either. Again, I just might have missed it. So, a lot of first watch stuff on that, folks. I don't want to take too many points off for that, but I'm just saying the Avatar thing's kind of big, and it kind of raises the question, like, are they built into the game, or are they actual gamers? And if they are, maybe there could have been like a line or something that mentioned, like, or at least something visual they could have done also is like, what if we had like a whole bunch of Batmans, but they're all different Batmans? Like, we have different variations of a character or an IP in the Oasis. So if anyone's just like, hey, I want to be Batman, well, I have to pick a version of Batman because that one's taken. Or something, because the way I read it, I think the way it's in the movie, and again, correct me if I'm wrong, guys, is I think what they're saying is the high rollers. If you have enough money, you can buy an IP character, or else you're going to be like Wade. Like Wade is like, he's like the average kind of like a different creature almost as the Avatar state. And if you had like a lot of coins, you could make yourself look entirely like the skin of a different character.
Honestly, though, I think the only reason they really didn't do that is because it would have distracted too much from the rest of the plot.
That's fair, but it's still something may have. I think as someone who's not familiar with the book, I think it's something you might want to think.
Heck in the book, pretty much everyone just looks like a different version of themselves. In this one, they don't really go all out with their different appearances, really.
Okay, that's fair.
Yeah, that's very true, and that's one of the things I was pleased with. Was I thought that the book version of Parzival, just the way he's described, was a lot less interesting than the way that we visually see him in the movie.
Yeah.
Now, let's see. I'm trying to think if there's anything else major here. Again, there's a bit of nostalgia overload in the big group shots at the beginning while we're kind of getting some exposition, and again, just kind of distracts from establishing some status quo already through that. We have some missed opportunities. I'm gonna simplify just the three missed opportunities. We don't mention the ET game at all, because when they were mentioning the 2600, I was thinking, okay, it's going to be ET.
I agree. That I was thinking that too, Dragon. I'm with you.
Well, Spielberg did kind of say that he's like, to avoid like appearing vain or have it appear to be a vanity project, he cut out pretty much all of his own references from the book.
But we got the T-Rex.
That's true.
I mean, the T-Rex is like a big deal. Like, the T-Rex is like right at the start. It's a mother effing T-Rex.
I mean,
yeah.
I suppose. And who knows? Maybe Universal didn't allow it.
All right, let's see. So the Iron Giant, it's a shame we don't see the Iron Giant fly, or at least, with all with the Superman reference, we don't see the Iron Giant like doing the whole Superman. We don't see him flying in the Superman pose. Like, imagine how awesome this would have been. This would have been fantastic. The Iron Giant in the third act, he flies into battle with the Superman music gleaming behind him. Dun, 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 dun. How amazing would that have been?
I at least appreciate the Terminator 2 shout out.
I know, it was great. Yes.
I was like, okay, it's falling in there. I hope he does a thumbs up. Oh, he's doing the thumbs up.
Yeah. Oh my God, that is amazing. And last one's a very simple one. I have no idea why they didn't do this in that Shining scene. Why on earth do we not have "Here's Johnny" just being said in audio, like off screen, just by Jack Nicholson? Why do we not do that?
Because I feel like the movie was making a conscious effort to kind of skirt around Jack Nicholson.
Right.
I mean, you could have very easily had a Jack Nicholson motion capture CG, like if you wanted to, but
Hey, Jacob, are you hearing Tiki? Okay.
Yeah, it's coming in kind of staticky.
all right.
Yeah, Tiki, I think you're doing this. All right. Okay, well, real quick, a few more cons while we're doing that. So I agree with Tiki's point earlier on. The third act, for me, it's specifically the van chase. I mean, I love the stuff in the van, but I think still we add a lot of we add unnecessary runtime and length, and the whole while it is funny, the whole well, don't you want it? The whole sign the contract and you take the key thing. Mainly the whole taking the key, and while he's in the van, he's kind of moving around the thing before he can take the key, and the tension of oh, he's scratching the key on the lock. All of that, it just feels like, do we really need that added tension? Because that's a whole thing we get from the whole Xandor, the whole finale, that finale hench girl stuff. Do we really need to add runtime with this whole they're being chased plot? Can't we just have them win the game and then get to the big heartfelt conclusion?
Okay, I think the one thing that was really funny about the chase was that you already mentioned, Dragon, the Mark Rylance, do you want it or not?
Yeah.
But I agree that sequence does go on. How am I sounding?
Oh, you sound good now.
Good.
And lastly, again, we already touched on it just real quick, just to recap it. The love story, and the whole "I love you" scene. It's a hard sell. The chemistry's there, but I don't buy her. And here's the thing. Here's my issue with it. I don't buy her coming around after. Here's the thing. The way it reads in the movie is that she explains the very logistical reasons. You hardly know me. Why are you saying you love me? Which again, she's not wrong with, and just feels okay, why are we doing that? But later on, here's the thing: she comes around on the path of loving him because it reads like this purely because her aunt and her abusive the abusive boyfriend of the aunt have died. So hey, he has death in his family too. I like him now.
Oh, I agree.
That's what it reads like, and it's I love the chemistry between them. I buy into that relationship. I think whereas I like the end point with them. It's now she likes him because he has dead family too.
Okay, Dragon. I'm actually glad you mentioned the end point. I really don't like the ending.
You don't?
No, because the ending just kind of reads to me hey, if you have a boyfriend or girlfriend, then you're going to be super happy outside the Oasis.
Yeah, I didn't.
I didn't read it like that. I read that.
I totally read it like that, and to me, it kind of felt super condescending to people who are single. Honestly,
I read it as it's a happy. It's kind of like the Back to the Future ending, where hey, in the end of the first one, he gets to kiss the girl, and specifically, it's less kissing the girl now, and it's more so everything works out for our hero, and he gets the Toyota.
Yeah, but the thing is, it's he closes the Oasis on Tuesdays and Thursdays because he has a girlfriend. Oh,
it is not because it's because everyone needs a break now and then. That's why.
And remember, he has freaking three other people running it with him.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe I'm just really, I've been single for 7 years now, so I'm
You're not the only one, Tiki, and I didn't get that at all.
All right, fair enough.
My point is it's nice seeing they're he's moved out from the junkyard to he's sharing an apartment with the girl, and hey, they had a nice relationship. It's kind of nice to say they're going to be good going forward. That's nice.
I mean, that's more or less how the book ends. The book ends on a message of and for the first time it felt good to not be in the Oasis. But I feel like I said, the thing that bothers me is I feel it was a mandate, hey, we're going to close it on Tuesdays and Thursdays because love, even though we're living in a shitty world where actually finding love is going to be all but impossible.
Look, do you know what you look? The reason they put
it's basically saying basically forcing like to go out in there and make this better world instead of spending so much time in the Oasis.
Yeah, but if you're a piece of shit like me, you're never going to get a girl.
All right, look, don't. Okay, here's the reason I think story wise, I think why they did this is to show another parallel between Wade and Holiday, because Holiday married one on the date, and he kind of chose the game over kind of living a life, and in doing that, I think they're just showing like another parallel of, okay, so we had that bit in the van where he kissed her before, like accepting like the half a trillion, like the portion of $1 trillion. So I mean that was. I just think they're showing that, okay, while he's struck a good balance, and he's also kind of he's taken, he's living, he's kind of fulfilling what Holiday kind of wanted to do in part with his life. And I kind of read it like that. It's kind of a nice button to put on it.
It's basically saying he's not making the same mistakes Halliday made.
Yeah, exactly. He's reached a happy medium and like living up to his idol, and also kind of being his own man, and kind of not doing the same mistakes as Holiday. So Halliday.
Yeah. Okay. So now favorite moments, really quick, just to get them out bullet point style. Right. I'm trying to think who has them like chronologically. How we should go with this.
I guess I think I have them first. Okay, I go first. All right. So my favorite moments are I got 2 moments in a line. So I loved in the beginning. I love it kind of introduces Artemis to Artemis Dizzy. I love where again, one great introduction of like, okay, he's taken all the coins in the DeLorean and everything, and he's reached the end and realized, okay, I'm not going to make that because the DeLorean's kind of in shambles after the first race. But it's so cool seeing our hero in the DeLorean, which can also do the hover conversion thing while it's racing, which I lost my mind at. Oh my god, that's so awesome! And while that was happening, honestly, the vehicle enthusiast in me really kind of got a kick out of the scene. But also, I like the character thing where our mystery girl in the Akira bike, played by a beloved Olivia Cook. She's racing to her doom essentially, and I love that it's really J.M. Miller. He's trying to save her, where it's like, okay, every gamer for himself, and just shows that he's caring about another gamer before it's like competition. So he grabs her arm. It's kind of a stunning save, and we see it's not that he just stopped her and it's like we're doing like the traditional thing. Oh, she's gonna gripe. Let's, hey, I could have made that. Well, we don't do that at all because she sees very clearly and plain as day. King Kong would have killed her. So hooray, friends.
Can I just say I love the this to me is like the best video game stuff that we get in the movie, just the way that this whole level is set up with the with all the different obstacles, and I'll speak more to it with one of my favorite moments when we see the racetrack again, but
it feels the most like an actual game.
Exactly. And just my god, King Kong looks better in this movie than he did in Kong Skull Island. Would you guys agree to that?
I'd agree to it.
I haven't actually seen Skull Island yet.
Well, fair enough, but I'm just saying, just the CG on him, like he looks really impressive.
Yeah. All right. I love the. It's real quick. I love the Lex Luthor because they pulled from one of my favorite movies. They pulled from the Superman '78 with the Gene Hackman Lex Luthor line. The line is, Some people can read War and Peace thinking it's just some adventure, it's just some simple adventure story. Others can read the ingredients on a chewing gum wrapper and unlock the secrets of the universe. I'm just saying it's a deep pull because they had 2 quotes they could have picked from. Was that, or was going to be the famous hilarious line of, it's amazing the human body can generate enough energy to keep those legs moving. That's a hilarious line from that movie. So I went with the other of the Lex Luthor lines, and I love it's the more obscure of the 2 lines, by the way. It just shows you that's the kind of guy Halliday was. It communicates a lot, and it's an old school reference. And yeah, I like that we do like a really light undercurrent of Superman in this movie, but an appreciated one. And the other moments, to keep it simple, I'm just going to lump in mainly all the curator stuff, but specifically I love the coin reveal. And I like the initial moment, like they kind of have a bet and they kind of gives them a coin. Then we reveal the big payoff where the curator, we reveal that that coin kind of saved Z's life with the extra life. And I love that coin, by the way, is a great symbol for all gamers, especially for those just playing the machines themselves. It's always the symbol of the extra life of another go around, like like we've seen Wreck-It Ralph, various other gaming things. You put the coin on the screen saying, hey, I got next game, that sort of thing. The coin has always been an important symbol for gamers. I love the coin as a symbol, but I love the little moment of it. It's basically, it is that Willy Wonka moment between Simon Pegg and Ty Sheridan there. It's a great moment of, because I love the library concept, and I love what the curator did. The curator was just kind of a fun kind of, character in that really cool setting where we kind of relive the guy's life and learn about him in a mystery sense. And everything comes together there because it's that symbol, with that heart behind it that reveals. It's an old school reveal. I love how it's an old school reveal with a lot of old school charm behind it, like that reveal, like, hey, remember this? It's kind of what it feels like, It's just a nice little nod to like kind of the Spielberg heart, in a way, like, hey, the curator is actually the co-creator the whole time, and he's been watching, he's been impressed.
At first I thought the coin was kind of like a Deus Ex Machina in a way, until I figured out that the curator is actually Morrow all along.
And again, he said he owed him all of his, basically owed him everything, essentially, because he bet all of his money on it, which essentially in the game is kind of all your life. So he kind of gave him an extra life as per the bet that he made with him. Mm-hmm. It's very fitting. So the curator is just as awesome. That reveal of Ogden Morrow, it was a really nice, really charming old school cinema kind of reveal.
What I really liked is like how you couldn't even tell that the curator was even voiced by Simon Pegg at first.
Yeah, Simon Pegg is unrecognizable in the best of ways in this role because he's really good at doing voices, and especially as we see in Force Awakens, he played Unkar Plunkett, and you can't even tell that it's him.
What's amazing though is that, like, technically his two characters are right next to each other.
Yeah.
And I just love the design of the curator, by the way. It's classic Spielberg, like the butler robot.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Again, we can't say enough nice things about the curator.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so I guess I should go next.
I think so. Yeah.
Okay. So, Dragon, you mentioned the first race. I absolutely adore the second race. I love the visual of Parzival riding backwards under the track and, seeing all the destruction from above. And my all-time favorite thing with that, this is such a video game thing, and it also reminds me of, like, theme parks and stuff, is when we see the T-Rex being lifted onto the course.
Yeah. Yeah, the platform lifts, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. There's just something about the practicality of that. Like, that's exactly what I'm talking about with the the video game quality to these things. Like, you see all the pieces being set up and in play, but you see basically this whole scene.
You see the ones and zeros behind you. You see the code being laid out.
Exactly. And this scene is just it's a really great representation visually of just how you can crack the game, and it in a way, Dragon, when you think about it, this is a great foreshadow to what ultimately ends up happening with Adventure, because the whole point isn't to win the race. The whole point is to start at the beginning and explore and do something different. So it's a nice foreshadow there. And like I said, just visually, seeing everything taking place above the, above Wade as he's driving backwards in the DeLorean with the top open. It's really cool. It's really
I just love that it's Back to the Future. We're going backwards in the DeLorean. That's cool.
I just still think it's kind of funny that these races happened for 5 years, and yet no one thought to go backwards.
I mean, you would think that at least people would, like, get out and look around the racetrack and, like, try and survey it, right?
Here's the thing, though. I love that there's a logic to that in this world where, again, you invest time and money and everything into it. So basically, if you die, there's some difficulty in coming back. Because, do you buy your way in again or what? And with that logic, it's like it's kind of like the Dark Knight Rises thing of, like, do you jump without the rope? If you jump without the rope, you could die. But again, basically, it's like you always have that rope around you of, like, you don't want to lose all your points and, like, risk not being able to play again, or, like, basically losing all your coins, all your character and everything you built. If you risk going backwards and plowing into a wall, it's a question, do you have the guts to go through with it or not, which Wade did.
Right.
I mean, that's true, but for 5 years?
All right.
Okay, I know, it's not even really a plot hole, I'm just saying.
So let's talk about the centerpiece of this film, like, yes. What I am sure is going to be the most memorable sequence, like, historically speaking, when this film is looked back upon. let's talk about The Shining.
Yes. Tiki, it's so reassuring that I love that.
I had this spoiled for me, but I don't even give. I don't care. I just don't care. This was magical.
I actually didn't have it spoiled, and it was amazing.
What's so nice about this, Tiki, is I just love that in many respects, and I can only imagine what Spielberg was thinking during this scene because, famously, he kind of, in many critics' eyes, he failed his friend Stanley Kubrick with AI.
Exactly.
And I love that he kind of redeemed. It was like such a beautiful redemptive moment you can see on screen. He did it so faithfully and so beautifully. And I don't know how he did it. I heard like something.
That opening shot of the Overlook lobby and then like walking into it. It's a jaw dropper, man. It's a stunner.
And this is why, for me, like no contest for me, this movie is far superior than Avatar. It's like, come on, you look at it. You basically, it's reached the point where you can't tell if it's an actual set or if it's like so digitally created. It's like it's a most flawless digital creation you've ever seen.
Exactly.
That's the thing, because it looks so beautiful. We recreate the speed and the timing, like the blood hallway specifically. Like, oh my god, it's
the blood hallway is just impeccable.
I almost shed a tear at the blood hallway, and I'm not a huge Shining guy with the blood hallway. Just seeing how well created, like how that friendship.
I didn't shed a tear, Dragon. I lost it. I thought it was hysterical when H is like, "Oh no!"
Again, that's a hilarious setup with H too, by the way.
Like, oh yeah, the twins looked exactly like they did from the original movie too.
Yes. Yeah. And then, okay, can I just say, both times I saw this movie, the audience went nuts when they saw 327 on The Room, and that warmed my heart. What?
237.
237. I'm sorry. The point being, that just warmed my heart. Like, I was just like, oh, I am watching this with the right crowd. Like, these people know what's up.
Yeah.
That's just, just the bathtub, like, oh, hey, naked lady, I know that cleanliness is very important, so I'm just going to give you your space.
I love that we didn't shy away. Well, don't get me wrong, we did technically shy away from, you know what I mean? I love that we did even like all the stuff with The Shining. We did all of that.
You know what? I'm just going to go with it. And then it gets like really outlandish with the hedge maze, and then like we've got the zombie lady like swinging the giant axe as Jack swinging the small axe. It's crazy. I mean, it just gets really, really wild. But like we said, like just the most impressive element of this scene is just how accurately they reproduce everything. It's mind blowing.
Again, while hilarious, it is breathtakingly just like astonishing, like how right they got that.
This is honestly like it's almost kind of like a magic trick where I almost kind of don't want to know how they did it.
Yeah,
I actually saw this in 3D, so it was even more impressive. Like it's like I'm watching The Shining in 3D.
It's just, again, it's like somehow they controlled time and space with it, because again, that blood came out the same exact. He must have looked into how Kubrick did that trick and somehow recreated it.
Oh,
and and liquids is hard to do with digital if it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. All right, Jacob, your moments.
Jacob.
Well, I mean, I guess my moment could be pretty much like. Well, as I mentioned earlier, there's a lot of impressive moments throughout this entire movie. But I kind of like mainly the visual aspect of like this, but the whole dance sequence, not the dance sequence, but the discotheque or whatever. I just really like how everything like came together and all that. if you get what I'm saying, like. Basically another way for like people to congregate and like talk about like, you get what I'm trying to say, right?
It's like the ultimate nightclub for IPs. Like all these floating gamers and IPs just going around the place. It's all discotheque, and basically you can have this thing where you can put like a Saturday Night Fever platform to do disco on.
Yeah, pretty much. It's like how it cut from like some kind of techno thing to Bee Gees.
It does feel, again, because they reference it, it does feel a little like the, again, kind of the futuristic, kind of bizarre 80s futuristic Buckaroo Banzai of it all. It does feel very accurate to Buckaroo Banzai now that I think about it.
To be honest with you, this whole movie has kind of a Buckaroo Banzai feel to it.
And then I saw him with that tie. I was like, yeah, that's Peter Weller from Buckaroo Banzai right there. That's
Am I the only one here who hasn't seen Buckaroo Banzai?
I checked it out purely because Kevin Smith for a time was about to adapt this. Says, you know what the heck, I'm going to check out Buckaroo Banzai. That's why I checked it out. But yeah.
I'm not I'm not super into it. I've seen it like a couple times.
Okay, so I am the only one here who hasn't seen Buckaroo Banzai.
Yeah.
As both John Lithgow and Jonathan Banks.
Dang.
My God.
And they share the same scene together.
But like, I mean, but I would really kind of say like the most impressive, definitely one of the most impressive scenes, like the battle sequence at the end.
Oh yeah.
Like specifically
That
the amount
was
of
the moment where I was like, Spielberg did it. He got the book. He filmed.
You mad genius, you mad Spielberg genius, you finally did it.
basically the entire moment, the entire sequence is like one like awesome moment after another. Like, like the number of cameos, the number of scenes, like, oh, that's fucking Chucky.
It's fucking Chucky.
I gotta tell you, just this Chucky is a character that always just fundamentally. Again, now I'm grown older. When I was a kid, Chucky did legitimately terrify me, and now he's still unsettling to me. Because I guess it's like in my kind of primordial brain. I guess it's like that sort of, it's like I love toys coming to life through Toy Story, I guess. And I think basically Chucky was like the evil perversion of everything I loved in this world. So it was kind of, I think fundamentally, I think in the back of my mind, it always terrified me as a kid with Chucky. So now even when I see Chucky, that I know I'm less scared of because now I see how ridiculous some movies are. But it's still like, oh my God, it's still so unsettling when seeing Chucky, like we cut to like everyone being killed by Chucky. It's like, oh my God, that's so.
It's kind of funny how he's technically an item in this world.
That's like, the thing. He's a weapon. My God, he's a weapon.
Yeah, like basically, and it's like I mentioned earlier during the Iron Giant discussion, like it was sad to see Iron Giant die again. But spoiler alert for a 20-year-old movie.
Well, it's not technically a spoiler. We know what happens to the Iron Giant in that movie, though.
Well, not everybody does, sadly.
Yeah,
but
that is sad. I weep for this country.
But like I said, I was like, please do the thumbs up, please do the thumbs up. Oh, there he goes.
Yeah.
I was like, you have to do the thumbs up, and then he did.
If only he could have done the thumbs up and said Superman.
that would have been good. That would have made it even better.
Can I also just say I'm sick and tired of people complaining like the Iron Giant doesn't kill? It's not the Iron Giant. It's someone controlling an avatar of the Iron Giant. Get over it.
I've heard some people say like, and again, look, believe me, I know Iron Giant at the back of my hand, so I know what people are trying to say with this. They're trying to say,
I absolutely get it. The Iron Giant is a very anti-gun violence, very anti-war movie. I totally get it. Well,
no, not that. No, you're right, T. I'm saying the other thing is that people would say like, oh, doesn't he have more effective weapons? Well, yes, we saw him turn into. Honestly, I think they reached a good happy medium with everything. That he doesn't do the whole like the transformer. He doesn't like the giant killer robot version of the Iron Giant, but he does have like the eye beams and has a few of the weapons here and there. So I think and you're right, T. It is an approximation of the Iron Giant without doing one thing the whole way or the other. So they reached a good happy medium with the Iron Giant.
Basically, if it was straight from the movie, it would have been too powerful.
Exactly. So I think they reached like the perfect medium with it. Except he could have flown. I really wish he would have flown, but that's just my 2 cents. But anyway.
Another major highlight was the appearance of Mechagodzilla.
Now the Iron Giant versus Mechagodzilla. Well, for a time, I think he did have a few punches against the Mechagodzilla. Then
it was mainly Mobile Suit Gundam versus Mechagodzilla.
I gotta tell you, again, I'm not invested in Gundam, but I was very impressed by Gundam.
Same here. Like I'm not invested in Gundam at all, but I know what it is because of Toonami days. So
I've seen like an episode from those Toonami days, like an episode or two. So I know what I get the like people inside the giant robot head controlling the robot. I get that much of that. So.
I've never actually
seen it. Like that's the thing. This movie has like a lot of wish fulfillment of seeing live action interpretations of things like Gundam, like Iron Giant.
And like according to some people, more faithful version of Godzilla than the more recent American version did, also from Warner Brothers, coincidentally.
And I would not be surprised if Mechagodzilla is in a new Godzilla movie down the line. He's not going to be in the next one because the next one's going to be Ghidorah, Mothra, and Rodan. But I actually wouldn't be surprised if Mechagodzilla doesn't pop up in like Godzilla versus King Kong or something.
But yeah, but like, I mean, sure, I mean, like, I just love how Mechagodzilla worked into it. It's like, yep, that's totally something Sorrento would do.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, I was marveling at Mechagodzilla, just in the movie, but also the concept of just talking about the future of the Godzilla films and introducing Mechagodzilla. That would be so awesome. I'm sorry, I was briefly distracted by that thought. Continue.
You know, the one thing they have to like make sure they don't do is like they need to make sure Mechagodzilla isn't just like a fucking transformer.
Oh sure, God, no transformations. Just like have him, be there in his imminence.
Exactly.
Just like, please, just giant. Like the government's answer. How do we deal with Godzilla? What if we can't trust him? Mechagodzilla. Yes, yes. Find the funding. Do it now. Now.
Here's evidence of like Neon Genesis Evangelion.
If any of you seen Pacific Rim, that's what we need.
And yep, get Guillermo del Toro.
He's busy. What? He's making beautiful art. All right, fine. Who's the next guy?
Steven S. Tonight.
Ah, darn it, let's just go on with it. Get the funding.
Right.
Okay. So I guess that's it for favorite moments, or
I mean, basically, I can basically list off. I mean, there's so many cameos, and like, I was like, oh, look, there's Battletoads, there's the Ninja Turtles, there's everything.
The unpopular version of the Ninja
Turtles. I don't like
Turtles.
that it's the 2014 Ninja Turtles, though.
I do love the logic, though, that it's that years from now that will be the preferred version of Ninja Turtles.
That would be the nostalgic version of the Ninja Turtles.
That is a funny concept. I want to say they're smart enough that's where they're going with it. But
I think pretty much the only reason they win from this because they already had the animation for them complete.
Exactly.
Yeah, you're right. That's why they went for that. It's just, it's like, oh boy, that's.
I mean, especially with the 80s, like, really, you're telling me that the 1990 Ninja Turtles wouldn't be more iconic?
Tell me, Tiki, tell me if you saw the Jim Henson Ninja Turtles, wouldn't that have been cool?
Oh God, yeah. Oh my God, I would.
How sweet would that have looked?
Just as terrible and terrifying.
All right. Okay,
all right.
This has been kind of a supersized podcast. We're going a little over 2 hours on this. So
there are a lot of characters in this movie, sir. Have you seen all these IPs?
So let's just wrap things up with
some. Did you notice the list of copyrights at the end?
Yes.
All right.
Yeah, I know.
Okay, final thoughts.
Yeah. Who wants to go first?
I was really impressed by it. I mean, like, I agree with you guys. I wouldn't call it like the best thing Spielberg's ever done. I mean, but it's definitely a lot better than some of his other stuff. I mean, I can't compare it to The Post because I still haven't seen that yet. But as I said, of a lot of the movies I've seen from Spielberg, this definitely not the best, but definitely probably in his top 20, I'd say. I mean, I don't know, but okay, maybe not. I mean, I need to rewatch a lot of his movies, but this is definitely something that Spielberg pulled off very well. I mean, and I'm very glad he had the opportunity to pull it off and like basically go back to making 80s blockbusters again.
Yeah. For me, I think it's a fine film with a good message about gaming and nostalgia at its heart, and I think conceptually it says the future may be. Maybe heading for trouble. Maybe heading for trouble. But while we shouldn't ignore it completely, while we shouldn't ignore that completely, it's nice to be able to escape to a positive place, and to a positive place filled with love, nostalgia, and creativity. And this film may not be 100% a Spielberg film, but it definitely feels like a Spielberg-directed film. So the point is, you can definitely see where Spielberg touched the hem of this film. And basically what you get with that is, it's Spielberg applying a dignity and a respect to a story that very easily this story, adapting this story with all the potential, like, oh man, we could reference so many things with this movie. It could very easily be a cash grab, and that kind of speaks to the conflict of the movie. It's dreamers versus corporations with the same addiction. With the same addiction of, oh man, we nostalgia and the connections and the games, like, we love this stuff, or we could definitely sell this to people who love this stuff. So I mean, the film is hitting a lot of really smart buttons, and I really appreciate that. And I did enjoy it, and I really want to watch it again. I think I'm very pleased to hear that. It sounds like it's kind of has it's more of like a Dark Knight Returns type adaptation. Now, I'm not saying it's like a clear cut, maybe not be the best example, but in Dark Knight Returns, in that I prefer the animated film of the Dark Knight Returns more than the book for Dark Knight Returns. And I feel like kind of it's a similar effect here. That's at least what I'm getting kind of the vibe of in the room here. So it sounds like the film turned out successfully in terms of adapting the source material. And yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing it revisited in the future either way. Because again, I had a good time with this movie, and I'd definitely like to see it. Of course, the question is, like, do we maintain this quality if Spielberg does or does not come? Mainly, if Spielberg doesn't come back, do we still get a similar quality? You never know. Who knows? But again, I had a good time in the movie, and I was glad to see it, and I'd definitely rewatch it again. So yeah, major props, Ready Player One.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, as someone who was probably the most hyped about this movie out of the three of us, like I said, first time watching this movie, I was very much like, okay, this is like, they're cramming too much too fast. There's a little too much exposition. Second time watching through it, it does have its flaws, but it is, it is a very good movie. And I feel like it's a Steven Spielberg directed movie, kind of like on the verge of being a Spielberg movie, just classically speaking. I feel like a lot of the weaknesses it has kind of like stem from the actual source material itself, so I don't really blame the film all that much. But Dragon, you're absolutely right that, like, I think that's one of the things that turned people off against the ad campaign in this movie, is that the ad campaign kind of made this feel like a cash grab. It kind of, for lack of a better term, it made this feel like Member Berries the movie, when really this is not that at all. Like, that's one of the things I love about this movie, is that when Spielberg does pop culture references, he does them with a plot purpose to them. And so this is not going to be one of those Spielberg movies I'm going to go to over and over and over again. And frankly, folks, I think if you're looking for Steven Spielberg to direct another E.T. or Jurassic Park, I just don't think that's going to happen ever again. Like, I just think those days are behind him now. I think he's more interested in telling more cerebral, more thought-provoking, more political type stories, which is why Ready Player One has a political element to it. But at the same time, I mean, we definitely shouldn't discount him, because Steven Spielberg, of course, is always a filmmaker who is constantly changing up his style and constantly changing up his direction. So, So that's about it. That's about it. I enjoyed it quite a bit. I don't, like, I very much doubt this is going to be in my top 10 films of the year or anything like that. But then again, this has been kind of a slow year so far compared to 2017. So who knows? Who knows? But yeah, it was a good one. It was a good one. All right.
Okay. Happy Easter, everybody. Enjoy the big golden Easter egg. Shall we play a game?
I'm waiting for someone to yell the Chucky line. Jacob?
It's fucking Chucky!
It's fucking Chucky!